Gemma, Maryland, tutto spoon. Yeah, tutto spoon. If you eat kepa, gradually, my brother, tutto spoon. You got a spoon TV, you got a spoon radio, tutto spoon. Yeah, tutto spoon. What? Yeah, Rastafari. Kilibaba, kilibaba, kilibaba. Kilibaba, kilibaba, kilibaba. What I want? Yes, what you got today? School TV. Yes, what you got today? School TV. School School entertainment. Go to there. Go to there. On the spoon. Yes, I information. On the spoon. To be Spoon television. Yes, I
From the CEO, stand coming with the spoon. And your boy, right at the Southern Band. Charges on the beat.
On the spoon to get your information. On the spoon to be part of our discussion. Spoon television. Spoon radio station. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Liberia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Monrovia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Africa. Just to spoon you will know. If the children crying for starvation, just to spoon. You want to get a news update, my brother, to spoon. You want to know what is happening in Moravia, to spoon. Politicians want to make their decision, just to spoon. You want to know what's happening in the ministry, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. You from Vonjama, Maryland, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. If you eat kepa, gradually, my brother, to spoon. You got a spoon TV, you got a spoon radio, to spoon. Yeah, to spoon. What? Yeah, Rastafari. Kilibaba, kilibaba, kilibaba. Kilibaba, kilibaba, kilibaba. What I want? Yes, what you got today? School TV. Yes, what you got today? School TV. School Spoon entertainment. Go to there. Go to there. On the spoon. Yes, I information. On the spoon. Yes,
From the CEO, stand coming with the spoon. And your boy, right at the Southern Band. Charges on the beat.
On the spoon to get your information to the school to be part of our discussion. School television. School radio station. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Liberia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Monrovia. Spoon gonna tell you what is happening in Africa. Just to spoon you will know. The children crying for starvation, just to spoon. You want to get a news update, my brother, to spoon. You want to know what is happening, Moravia, to spoon. Politicians want to make their decision, just to spoon. You want to know what happening in the ministry, to spoon. To spoon. To spoon. You from Fonjama, Maryland, to spoon. To spoon. If you eat kepa, congratulate my brother, to spoon. You got a spoon TV, you got a spoon radio, to spoon. To spoon. What? Yeah, Rastafari. Kilibamba, 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 kilibamba. What I want? Yes, what you about today? School TV. Yes, what you about today? School TV. School TV.
Well, folks, welcome to the program, Spoon Talk. I'd like to say welcome to all of you. Today is February 11 it's Armed Forces Day here in Liberia. And as usual, we are live on Spoon TV, Fabric TV, Super TV, Spoon Talk on YouTube. We're also live on Fabric Radio and Spoon Radio 107.5. My name is Aaron Kuban, and this edition of the program, your sound coordinator, we have Dr. Richardson and James on the other side. Let me say good evening, welcome to you both.
Aaron, good day. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. How are you? How you doing?
I am doing well. A little busy today. Today is Saturday over here, and a mother's job is never done. So I'm running around, and then finally I said, I gotta be here for the show. So I want to say hello to you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful, happy Saturday. Happy Armed Forces Day in Liberia, right?
Indeed. Yes.
Yes. I heard there's a lot of activities that are going on. There was some event held. Aaron, do you know where the event was held today? Was it at the Barclay Training Center?
Indeed, regularly there where they have the ceremony.
Okay.
Of the Liberia. So
awesome.
It was held there today. Yeah.
Awesome. We are going to be talking a little bit about that. I believe Good Day has a video that he's going to show us. Not now. Good Day, when the panelists join us, we're going to hear Zanka, the current Minister of Defense. I believe it was him who was speaking in that video, James, and he's going to give us the video, and so we can hear what he said, a little bit of what he said today, just to familiarize Liberians who are listening to us, who are joining us today about what is going on in Liberia regarding the Armed Forces Day. I have some fun facts about the military in Liberia, but I will let Aaron, would you just tell us a little bit about any updates, anything that we should know, trending issues that are going on in Liberia? hold on. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
myself.
So, like you rightly said, the issue about the Armed Forces Day on celebrations on today. Today, as you know, our soldiers, guarding men and women in the armed forces of Liberia will regularly celebrate this day as though, many of them describe this day as their own Christmas, their New Year and 20th and whatsoever. So this is one of the days that they have the opportunity to celebrate and do some of the unusual things, not going out of their roots, but those things that they don't do regularly. And so in the morning hours, you have a parade, and then the president inspecting the troops and statements being made, like you talk about the defense minister, the president. The keynote speaker, as a matter of fact, came from Michigan, the Michigan State um, Guard. He's one of those officials or high-ranking officers in the Michigan State Guard. Spoke as keynote speaker at the event on today. So there were several speeches that made. Yes, then on the other hand, there are Liberians too as well that are, observing the day too. Once when you work throughout the month like that, when you get one holiday, people want to go and flex up. Like today, I took up time to visit my parents. Yes, I was with my mother and my father somewhere in Gardnersville. I think you know Gardnersville that the richest thing. So I spent the entire day on that side. You are muted.
Yes, I know Gardnersville very well.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
nice of
So
you. Good son to go and visit your parents.
yeah. I was on that side the entire day. So, but another thing is that there's something trending on the social media
Mm-hmm.
about Vice President Joseph Yimam Boakai pledging support to Cummins, stating that he doesn't want to run again. The
It's
Vice
fake.
President has posted that. James, just hold on. I will come to that. The Vice President posted that page is fake. The former Vice President, as a matter of fact, that is a fake page. I saw that on Kalasco's ward. He posted it. The special aide to the president posted that the Vice President has finally, pledged his support to Cummins because he can no longer contest and all of those things. And so the Vice President came up and reacted to it. The screenshot is about 5 hours ago, but the Vice President's statement, I think, is about an hour ago. Those of you who check on his page, stating that he stay, contesting. And another trending news,
So Aaron, I'm laughing because it almost like fake page to fake page makes fake page.
indeed,
Last week and last yesterday, I believe there was a fake news going on saying that Cummings agreed to be vice president to Joseph Buckeye, and we debunked that here uh on Spoon. And now today we hear another fake news that's saying that Buckeye is out of the race. And so fake news to fake news equal fake news. Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
But the thing about it, I don't know who were those parading with the information you talk about, with Cummings stating that he has agreed, to be vice, you know, running mate to former Vice President Joseph Boakai. But for this one, with the former Vice President, you see most of the guys in government, the CDC, those are guys that are running with this one. With the former Vice President stating that he's pledging his support to Cummins. He doesn't want to run again. But what we noticed, the fact of the matter that the Vice President himself has come up to say that that is not his page. We consider that as fake page until those guys who are running with it can come out to show the proof that this is the Vice President page. But I don't think that will be necessary because
And
we
and
visited the Vice President page and we know the
Okay.
last post he did before this come
yeah.
post. Yeah, so it's clear.
And the first party supporter who I saw that thing from, the ANC people behind it. I saw it on one of their supporters. He was the first person who shared it, and he's behind it. He also created another page in the name of Spoon. You will
Mm.
see it on Facebook. He created another page in the name of Spoon, the same as Spoon FM with our banner. So I don't know when that news when I came up with that information yesterday that
Oh,
the ANC and Unity Party they are talking to come back together. That was how, in order for them to come back to counter react, they had to create that page. He created another page. It's in the name of Spoon. You will see it on Facebook. He's in the US. I just forgot about his name. He's the one behind our page. The page that posted saying former Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai declared his support for Cummings. So Carrasco owner share. I think it was today that Carrasco shared, but it came out since yesterday. Since yesterday, he made a post.
There's a
So,
And
question.
okay.
mhm,
So there are two fake news that are going around. One
yeah.
is Mr. Cummings is not or has not met with Mr. Vice President Buckeye to agree that he's going to run as his vice president. That's fake news. The
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
the second,
I think I brought that information. Can I just talk about it? What I brought?
yes, let me just
She
finish
got a
this.
land, yeah, that's
Yeah. So the second fake news is that Vice President Buckeye is still in the race. He did not issue any comment saying that he was not in the race. So go ahead, good day. I just wanted to
Yeah, yeah.
clarify.
Like I said yesterday, what I gather, and I gather it from the ANC, people within the ANC, and they said, yes, this is what they're doing. There's this word we call preliminary. There is a preliminary conversation going on. And in that preliminary conversation, uh, the ANC and Unity Party are working out modality to come together as a team, to combat President. We are in the upcoming elections. So in this preliminary, like I have evidence, I have everything I gather from there where people within Cummings' office, I got information from them. Cummings has not agreed. Cummings has not signed any paper or to say, yes, I want to go as vice president to Joseph Human Boakai. But there's this conversation. And in this conversation, uh, Cummings' team, not even Cummings himself, but his team, is proposing that if you come into us, the first thing you have to come and join the CPP. We're not coming to you.
So
You
that's
come.
an interesting news there. So you're saying
Yes, that
Cummings,
is a preliminary discussion are going on. Nothing has been finalized. Nothing has been finalized. So the thing is, if you want us to collaborate, you come to us with ALP, and then MDR will also be with you when you come in, so all of us can sit on the table. And
okay.
there were so many conditions that were laid on the table.
So in
And
essence, it's almost like ANC is saying, we have the CPP
yeah,
that
yeah, 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 yeah.
then that you left
Yes.
CPP. So if you're
Mhm.
coming back, the CPP is here to accept whoever wants to join us. So maybe that's a preliminary condition, good day, that they're saying that come back to
Yes. Yeah.
CPP,
Come back to
and
us.
then we can open the conversation of maybe
Of-
leadership.
And it was not meant to be in the public. Even
Oh,
the person who told me it was not meant to be in the public. So yesterday, when I was lying, he called me. He said, "This is what happening." I said, "All right." I said, "But what you think? I blowing it." He said, "My man, wait here, don't blow it." I said, "My man, Jennifer, I don't want to do it."
ooh, don't blow no news here.
Yeah. So
You
that
blow,
was how I brought it out.
you
But
blow,
the party people still get uh, ownership seizure that they don't want to get the population. Another one is when they are coming, they should get ready for primary. But the party has not really agreed. They talk about it 50-50. It is not basically about ANC taking 50% ministerial posts. It's about all those who are in the collaboration. Everybody should have share within it. It
yeah,
should
man,
not be
let's
like,
go with that. Bring people share why everybody too much political party share, this share, all
no,
kind of
but no
share.
one they are common. You have to
Just you know,
share government.
you want to like bring people share. The person who can give us,
Government is collaboration.
yeah.
So we're waiting. I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, there will be a meeting between ANC high-ranking members and Unity Party. I will let you know after that
Okay,
meeting. They are expected to have a meeting.
good day. Let
Yeah,
us know. That sounds like breaking news. We'll be breaking that meeting news here
yeah.
about the meeting between Unity Party and CPP. It's a CPP, right?
CPP.
CPP.
so
Yeah.
So okay, go ahead, Aaron, please.
yeah,
Go
so Dr. Richardson, whenever there is an election just around the corner, there will always be discussions, being held in the corners. And so for me, I don't see this as being strange for political parties to be having discussions on collaboration. Uh, if you were to move through the streets of Morovia and listen to many of the people, even the guys in the the CDC guys, that's the reason why they were craving for the LPDP and the MPP to finally sign their document, because it has come to the point wherein many people believe that a single political party cannot win election. Yes,
Right.
for Madam Salif to win the second term, for her to win her second term, she had to collaborate with two other political parties, the Liberation Party and one other party I just cannot get offhand.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and so the CDC happened to the CDC ran to 2005 to 2011. They had to collaborate with two other political parties before they can win the election, which has been something that has been proven, in looking at empirical data and what has happened, in the past. So judging from those things that have happened, so most of the political parties um are cognizant that they cannot win election just alone. So there will be discussions. The Unity Party will have discussion. But what the difficulty here is that Joseph Boakai, who has served for 12 years as vice president, just cannot see himself, going into a collaboration where he will be asked to contest as running mate to anyone. And if you want to look at that from, from a layman thinking, no one wants to do that. He served for 12 years as vice president, and you want to go back again into a collaboration where you'll be serving as vice president. So that's the sticky, part of this entire thing about a collaboration, that someone who feels that there should be a level playing field, that we should go to a process like primaries, and then if I win, I had the ticket. And there was another person is there saying that even if you win, it means that I'm not going to contest, because and that person does not think they shouldn't contest. So it's something that is very difficult. It's very, very difficult now that the ANC, the Unity Party, and all other parties that may collaborate in the opposition, Joseph Human Boakai is standing to serve as stand-up bearer if they were to collaborate. And then you have the ANC, maybe based on the strength of the other political parties. This is the sticky part of this entire issue, that I think they may have a very long road to get to the conclusion of all the discussion. Now, Richardson, you are muted.
You know, James just talked about breaking news, and he will elaborate further on the communication or the meetings that will be held between CPP and Unity Party. I'm unaware of that, so I'm looking forward to hear that news as well. Aaron, also thank you for your um, narrative on collaboration in Liberia, and that how at this point it sounds like you cannot see Vice President Buckeye sharing to the playing the role of Vice President again.
Mm.
Um, you know, so that's a decision that we Liberians will have to make. Are we going to make decisions on what we can't see happening? Are we going to make a decision based on the way that we want our country to go? And the questions, we're going to talk about that today as well. Aaron, you brought a very interesting point. As we usually discuss here, we look at every junction. We always talk about pathways. What's the pathway of we are winning after he had this uh rally in Liberia, and now that he got uh two of the three parties have signed on with the agreement, what is his pathway now? So that's something the panelists and I will be discussing. If we have enough time, we can also explore what is the pathway of Buckeye. Is his pathway the fact that he has been a vice president and he can no longer serve as vice president to anyone? Is that part of his pathway to say, I want to have a primary? It's what you said as well, Aaron. So
I know, I know. I'm sending something in the chat room. Local, please look.
oh,
It's from PYG.
okay, yes. And so yes, so is that the pathway? It's also the pathway for Mr. What is the pathway for Mr. Cummins? It's the pathway. I'm here. I've never served in any political office before. I've never served as the president of this country. That I'm here to offer something different that you guys have not experienced me before as a leader of the Republic of Liberia. So here I am. So what is the pathway? So this is what we will begin to explore today, um, and um, and then we'll go from there. What do you guys have anything else to add? I'm just reading
On
what James sent to me
the,
quickly.
on the issue about the pathway for Mr. Cummins, um, though Mr. Cummins has been asked on several occasions about whether he wants to take a particular trend to the presidency, that is going to the legislature, and then before going to maybe vice president, then president, he has repeatedly said that his goal is to become president of the Republic of Liberia. But I always like to reminisce whenever I do analysis. I like to look at past events, and then I can bring it to the present, and then we can draw the conclusion for the future. If you look at George Weah, who is now president of Liberia, as popular he was, or maybe I can say now he is, from his popularity he got from soccer, he did not ascend to the presidency until he went to the Senate. I don't know. Yes, Madam Salif post-war Liberia, Madam Salif 2 years, she became a senator, though she did not take that seat. But if you look at Madam Salif, you look at George Weah, these are people who have ventured out that route of the legislature. And then let's look at President Weah as a case study. As popular he was, he contested in several elections. He did not make it. 2014, he had to go. He had to go for how you call it, legislative election, senatorial election in Mosserado County. He won. Apparently, that gave him some level of political insight. It gives him, the way to navigate his ways, that insight to navigate his way through politically in getting to some of the politicians to pledge support to him. You know how it works, and maybe that his stint as I mean his position as a senator also gave him that leverage at the time to get close to Madam Salif, all of those things, and that also gave him the opportunity for Madam Salif to support his presidential bid in 2017. So I don't know about Cummings, and I don't want to, I will not say Cummings should use that path, but if you look at what happened with President Weah, that had to go to the Senate before he got this, the presidency. Mr. Cummins, yes, he may just come. He want to go through to the presidency, but there is always a pathway, to something. And if Mr. Cummins is not waiting to go through that route, someone just even commented about Joe Biden. Look at Joe Biden. He knew that he wanted something, so he had to subordinate himself to. I'm not being xenophobic or I don't want to be racist, but Joe Biden will subject himself to a black man. Uh, Barack Obama at the time. Someone who is the very first black man to come out and say, I want to become president of the United States of America to win, a white man subjecting himself because he knew he wanted something. He wanted to get somewhere. And then based on the working and way how, how Obama pushing, so, pushing to some of those international meetings, Joe Biden was traveling all around the place, negotiating most of the American meetings. And then based on how he work, the people saw him and said, this man can become president, especially that he had the name of Donald Trump in in the country at that time. They said Joe Biden can be a very good president based on how he work as vice president. So Mr. Kumi has a choice. He can choose as to whether he wants to serve as a vice president so that the Liberian people can see, that leadership, charisma, and whether he can serve as president later on, or you just want to get straight to the presidency, it left with the Liberian people to decide. But as a journalist, these are some of the things I would just, outline so that Mr. Cummings and his supporters can look at that, whether there should be a pathway directly to the presidency, or you should just use some of those those steps that people like President we are Joe Biden, other individuals use. Though there have been instances where people just leave and get to the presidency. Even the Barack Obama I talk about, he came from the Senate.
Mhm. Thank you, Aaron. That's a good personal narrative, your personal view of the pathway for Mr. Cummins. Um, we'll be expanding on that as panelists tonight, but I just want to share two things with you for you to think about. You talk about popularity, and you kept on mentioning the popularity of WIA. If
Mm.
popularity is a pathway for leadership, then we're in trouble. Obviously, we are seeing that right now. Being popular in our country and as popular, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you can think about it, but at this point in our country, popularity does not equate to competence in terms of leadership. Quantity, which I would equate to popularity, also does not equate to quantity. Okay, quality does not equate to quantity. So I just want you to think about that. And there's one well, another thing that you said also about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a seasoned politician. He ran for president many times, even before he was choosing to be. I mean, choosing
But
to be.
he did not win.
He did not win. So I just want to tell you how seasoned he is. Okay, he ran for the presidency. He's been a senator since 1973 for the state
Mm.
of Delaware, and he was very much into politics even before Obama. So I just wanted to share that you said that even he served as vice president to a black man, a black president, a very awesome, excellent black president Obama. um, so his destination is very different, and I know I like how you use that.
But
I
that originally he served as senator, like I was saying, like in the case of President George we are now, like in the case of even Barack Obama, Madam Salif too contested for the Senate. So those were pathways that they used, to get to the presidency. If you talk about him contesting several times, he did not win.
so
Okay,
so
he,
so
he did not win. He had to go to serve as vice president before he got the opportunity to serve as president now. So Mr. Kumis could look at that. I'm not going to tell you to
Can I,
subject his ambition.
can I drop on?
so good day. Please put the link in the chat room so that people can join us, because I heard there's some confusion about that. I was just listening. And I will let you in. Good day. Let me just say, again, I want to say that um we have to look at what did someone do when they were in the Senate, okay, to contribute to the development of Liberia. Joe Biden, it wasn't just his record as vice presidency people were looking at. How did he contribute? What kind of work he did as a senator? That's the question I think Liberians should be asking. Those of you who really want to know and be involved in politics, that is the question that we should be asking for our country. How can a leader improve our country? Is it just because you had a position in a certain place, in a certain political office? What did you do there? Are you does popularity in that today? In the United States, people will say numbers, and popularity. I mean, even in Liberia, you guys think popularity is good and that's politics. But the place where Liberia is, we cannot continue to rely on this popularity thing, okay? Because if we do, I don't know how that contributes to development in Liberia. That is my point. We got to think very hard. We got to think about competence and quality as opposed to this
But
whole
the
thing.
reason that the normal people looking at you.
Well, yeah, no, the reason why they're looking at number, because people like us, that's what we talk about. People like you as a journalist, let's change this narrative to say this is what we need because we're behind. Like we're behind. Yeah, America, if America made a mistake, good day, I come in. I know you won't talk. Okay, I come in. Yeah, America, when America make a mistake, okay, they went and they didn't even pick the popular president, which was Hillary Clinton at the time. They went by what we call the Electoral college here, and they elected Donald Trump. So it is just, and I hate to make the analogy between the United States and Liberia, because again, the United States has a system. a system, even when we make one mistake, like we made a mistake with Donald Trump, but we've regained ourselves. Good day, coming. Welcome, Kev Hassan, to the program. Good day, come on in, and then Aaron, you can say what you have to say. Mm-hmm. Good day, you in? You muted.
You muted.
Sorry. Yeah. Good evening. So, politics, global politics, is all about bargaining. There's no there's no government or corporation around the world that you will say they don't have anything called bargaining. You can never get to the presidency if you will not do a political bargaining. President George Manneh, we are then thought he was the messiah of Liberia. He did not think about political bargaining. What happened to him? He cried 2 different times. He said he won the election. They took it from him. So, Ellen, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf King, before she could get to the presidency, she contested the first time. What happened? Since there was no political bargaining, what happened to her? She did not win. The last time Ellen won election here, she had to do bargaining, and after that, what happened? She won. The second round, she went back to people who were against her. She went back to them and made what? Friends with them, and they came on board. She won the election. So global politics now, the politics since the 2000, if we can go back to 2000, from the 90s up to now, maybe the time we were not born, people used to use other democratic way to get the power. But if you really want to win election today in the world we live in, you must collaborate with people. There must be a bargaining between you and them that, yes, this is what I'm putting on the table, all hands on the table, let's do this. Yes, popularity is key, is one of the key factors in winning elections, right? But you can get a number if you don't have that political stage to set the platform to the political elites. You cannot win. Sometimes with the electors, yes, we can vote. We can go out there and vote. That is why I told you that we don't really have perfect democracy, right? We can go out there and vote and do whatever. But what happens at the end of the day? Sometimes the political elites will be the one to decide your vote. This is not just about Liberia. You go to America, they still have the Electoral College. How can people win elections in America? The current president of America, what he had to do after their convention, he went back to the very woman who went hard on him.
Very true.
He did that in politics. What he was doing there was to get her on board and get her team joining the conversation, because you cannot leave her out. It is not about your personal benefit. Politics is not about what you feel about me. That is why people will tell you in politics there's no permanent enemy. It's not about how you feel about me. Today, Kev saying how we will blast each other, we get on the radio and say whatever we want to say. But if it is time for us to go to election, hey, I have to leave that thing behind me. Kev has to leave his own behind him. We get on the table and discuss. And I think that is the place where we are reaching now. That is the place where the oppositions in Liberia are reaching now. They just left a few steps away to reach there. They think that it is time for political bargaining. They cannot make it. Bakai has the number. He 400,000. He might be waiting for him. They in bank, but they can't make him president. Kumi's guy is 7%. They're waiting for him. They can't make him president. In order for you to become president, you must collaborate with people. You see, George, we had a man as president, but he still begged people. He went getting down on his knee to get NPP and the other party to come on board. Up to now, some of his people still begging Prince Johnson, though he said Prince Johnson are killer. But he's still begging people to come on board. So politics is collective work.
Yes. So thank you very much to both you, Aaron, and Good Day, for your feedback, for your comments. I'd like to welcome Leo Johnson to the show. He's our guest panelist. Leo, welcome to the show. And congratulations to your sister. I just saw that you were in, was it Cyprus or Greece?
Cyprus.
Yes. Yes, you were in Cyprus celebrating her graduation. It's a plus for Liberia. Every time I see a Liberian woman, especially, moving forward in the academic world. I'm impressed. So it was great to see you representing and being there for her. So Kev Hassan is also here. I want to first of all just tell everybody today is our Armed Forces Day in Liberia. I want to celebrate our military personnel in our country. We're going to have a few conversations. We're going to talk about the role of the armed forces in Liberia. And Leo, please check your messenger. I'm going to send you something as well. And then we're going to talk about the political pathway for some of our candidates, political candidates. We're going to talk about the pathway for George Weah, the pathway for Boycott, the pathway for Mr. Cummings. And then we're going to also talk about the role of fundraising in the United States, fundraising in the United States by our political leaders. Um, how impactful is that? And then, of course, um, we're going to I'm sorry, I'm doing something here. I'm trying to multitask. I want to send this thing to Leah really quick. So yes, so this is kind of the nature of our conversation with you today. I want to welcome all of you here. Let me just go ahead and also welcome our guests here today. Seth, you want to add? Hassan, you want to say something before I welcome our guests, or you just want to wait? Which one you want to choose?
You guys were discussing on, and if I will, and I don't know if it's writing, if that's what you guys were discussing on.
We're gonna go into details, Kev, about the pathway. I think
No,
later on.
yeah, before the pathway, you were talking about collaboration, right?
Well, yes, that was part of James Good Day conversation.
Yeah, that's
Mhm,
what you were talking about, collaboration. But let me
mhm,
just give a little bit on it before you
mhm.
welcome our guests.
Sure.
We have to understand one thing. Before you collaborate with somebody, you have to have the same ideology, what you want for Liberia. Not collaborate because you want to take out a certain president. The Unity Party and the ANC have a different path. The ANC do have their own ideology, the Unity Party, as well as the CDC. For example, I cannot collaborate with the ANC because of their elitism idea. So I cannot collaborate with ANC because of that elitism idea. I'm a grassrooter, you know. I I believe in it. I believe in the Atai shop where I can sit up with people like me. So I cannot collaborate with the ANC unless ANC believe in the grassroots, unless ANC believe in that we can sit in the Atai shop, our people are all the same. So if they don't believe that, I cannot collaborate with them. So when people want to collaborate with, they're talking about, oh, talk to this person because you want to take out the MPP, the LPDP, they all are grassroots. So we have things in common. But the Unity Party and the ANC do have things in common. Or they will come together, say, oh, let's come together because we want to take. No, Liberia should not be that way. You have to collaborate with people with same ideology, political ideology, the vision for Liberia, what you want for Liberia, how you see Liberians, how you see Liberia. So when I see people talking about collaboration, they're missing that point of, do we have the same idea? Do we see things the same? Do we have the same way of pushing Liberia forward? If you cannot discuss that, then people are misleading Liberians. You cannot collaborate without the same ANC, Unity Party, different idea. That's why the CPP fall apart. They fall apart because they don't see things the same. So I think people should
So,
should focus on that.
so
But we'll
we
come to that. Yeah.
thank you, Kev. We're going to expand on that conversation. I just wanted to clarify a few things. I think when we call people elitist and we call people grassrooter, we must have an operational definition for what it means. I mean, we can't generalize those terms onto everyone. And elitist, is you call yourself elitist, but yet and still you are eating lobster. What kind of elitism is that? You call yourself elitist, and yet and still you are driving a brand new car. What kind of elitist? What kind of grassrooter is that? So you call yourself a grassrooter, and you have some commonalities. So then, does NPP, with the history of the involvement in our civil war, they have some commonality with CDC? So if that's the case, then we need to explore that. So that is the things that I think about when I hear uh, commonalities between political party, commonalities between uh, grassrooters, and non-commonalities between people, grassrooters and elitists. So, but we can expand on that. I'm willing to engage in that conversation. But it's okay if I can welcome our guests before we go further. Okay, good. Let me just welcome our guests. As you guys know, I like to do this because of you. We are here. You could be doing many, many, many things on here Saturday, but you made a choice to join us on Spawn today, where we're going to be discussing. We're going to be celebrating our military members. Today is Armed Forces Day in Liberia. We just want to thank all of those military men and women who served our country and who are serving our country very well at this moment. So we also want to tell you thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. I want to just take some time to call a few names. I'm going to call Mala. Mala is here. Thank you for joining us. Philip Morris is here. Thank you for joining us. Cyrus Foko is also here from India. Okay, when we get people watching from around the world, it's very impressive to me. Henry Nuko is here. Edmond Sibo is here. He's watching from Stephen Talbot Estate. If you know our Stephen Talbot Estate in Liberia, thank you for joining us. I like it when Liberians in Liberia are also watching us. Cole Gloria Voga Mulba, thank you. She's such an avid follower. Cole follows us almost every day. Cole, thank you for joining us today. November King is another strong follower. He's in Fargo. And Octavius Johnson, thank you for following us. Alfonso Mende, thank you for following us. Mo Moba from North Korea. We got someone from North Korea is following us as well. Again, I like it when I hear people from around the world following Spoon. Mohammed S. Kane is from Ukraine. We got Ukraine in the house. I hope you're safe in Ukraine. We're thinking about you. We're sending positive energy to all the Liberians and others who are in Ukraine going through some terrible situations right now. Thank you for joining us. In as much as you could have been doing anything on this Saturday, people, Liberians and other nationals in Ukraine, thank you for joining us. Matthew Bozi is joining us from Miami, Atlanta. PK Tukba is from Turkey. Oh, we got someone from Turkey joining us. Thank you for joining us. Rufus Zawli is joining us from Nima. Thank you for joining us, Rufus. Nima County is here in the house. William Patel is from Ohio. William Patel, again, he's always following us. Welcome to the show, William Patel. Johnny Nibi is from Dupont Road, Pinsville. Dupont Road, all my friends from Dupont Road, yeah, hello. Dupont Road is here. Marvin Tour is also from St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri, the show me state. Welcome to the show. Elisha Zeze is here. He's watching from Philadelphia. Welcome to the show. LIB Williams is watching from Denver, Colorado. Welcome to the show. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And I wish I had time to just talk to all of you here and welcome you to the show. But we do not. We're going to start our show right now. We're going to talk about the Armed Forces Day in Liberia. Again, today is February 11th, Armed Forces Day in Liberia. Just a few fun facts. The Armed Forces first started off in Liberia as a militia group way back during 1832 when Judy Ashman was an agent of the colony. And then, of course, it was during Tubman time. I think it was Cullen Dean, who actually asked Tubman to make this a holiday. So during Tubman time, the Armed Forces Day came into to being an actual celebration of a holiday. We have Minister Zanka. I want to send out a great shout to him. He spoke today. We have Minister Prince Johnson. What's Prince last name again? The deputy. Good day. Is it Johnson?
Yeah, Prince C. Johnson the
Prince
third.
Johnson the third, yes, Prince Johnson the third is also the deputy minister, and we want to tell you thank you also for.
No, no, he's not a deputy minister.
Oh,
He's
the major
the
general. He's a major general. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
the chief of staff.
Yeah,
Chief of
Prince is the chief of staff.
Thank you for
A
the correction.
very good individual.
Yes, he's always here, like serving as the deputy to the minister. So that's why I have it in,
Yeah.
in that image. But he is the chief of staff, and he's a major general in the army. He's Prince Charles Johnson, and then we also have Brigadier General Geraldine Jeanette George. Let's not forget that's a woman who's also part of the Liberian Armed Forces as well. So we want to celebrate all of the women who are in the Liberia military, the armed forces, and want to celebrate all of the men and want to tell our defense minister, Daniel Zanka, thank you for doing a wonderful job. Having said that, James Goodday, do you want to play that video where uh, uh, Minister Zanga was speaking today, and then we're going to ask the panelists their thoughts about what he said?
All right.
Mhm.
As we draw closer and closer to the general and presidential election come October 10th, the armed forces of Liberia will remain apolitical. In this vein, I want to admonish every political actor, irrespective of your political affiliation, to remain peaceful and civil during this heated process. We encourage you to pursue your dreams of becoming whatever you want. But the sad reality is that your dreams, ego, and aspirations will more often than not fall short of the collective will of the electors. Our passionate plea will be, don't dare cross that democratic red line beyond the collective will of the people in your dream fall short. We will stand by the express will of the people in line with the Constitution of Liberia. As we draw closer and closer to the general and presidential election come October 10th, the armed forces of Liberia will remain apolitical. In this vein, I want to admonish every political actor, irrespective of your political affiliation, to remain peaceful and civil during this heated process.
Wow, that was a nice line there from Minister Zanga. So Kef Hassan, we are going to go to you to ask you what are your thoughts about what you just heard from Minister Zanga, and why do you think it is important for him to remind Liberian people to remain
You know,
peaceful?
Dr. Richardson, I can say this. That's a brilliant part of you to include this on the show. I must commend you for that. Thank you so much to do for that. The reason I'm saying that, Dr. Richardson, we had this argument, you know, 2, 3 days ago, and I said the defense minister, the military chief of staff, they are now the defense minister is appointed by the president, but they don't take part in politics. There you go. The defense minister telling you, we're not there. We're not part of that politics. That's the defense minister. The defense minister under the past government was political. He campaigned. Now we're saying what I said 2, 3 days ago, where folks say, oh no, it's a political appointee, he can do this. No. Under this president, he separates that the justice ministry and the defense justice minister and the defense minister should remain neutral. There you go. Listen to what the defense minister under George Manawia is saying. That's the country I want to live in. I want to live in a country that the defense minister will not be political. No, the justice minister will not be political. We should take that off. So, what I'm hearing from the defense minister, by the way, I happened to meet him in person. I saw what a strong gentleman who believe in the armed forces of Liberia. Well, a decent man. If you have chance to talk to him private, you will know that he want to build the army. He's very, very strong. He's not a political guy, although he was appointed by the president, but he's not a political guy because I've been around him and I had a lunch with him, and I see what I saw. I saw a neutral man. So what I'm saying to you and to our people, when people are saying, when I make my statement the last time, people say, "Oh, we're here in appointee." That's two positions completely don't need to take part in politics. So under this precedent, you have seen the definition of the defense minister. He's saying that we're not part of this. We're not. Well, the rest of the guys can come in, Leo, and the rest of the guys can come in. But Dr. Richie, that's what my position the last time. And under this government, under this president, we see how government work. That's how it should be. Certain position is not politics. This president is doing it.
Okay. Thank you, Kev Hassan. Leo Johnson, do you want to add in your comments, and then we'll go to you, good day, to share your thoughts about what you heard the Minister of Defense say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Richardson, and thanks to everyone. It's good to be back on Spoon Talk. And greetings to all of the audience and people listening out there around the world. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think we should ask the question, what does that mean when we talk about we don't want the military to be apolitical? And I agree. Our military, especially in major security sectors, should not be political because every citizen of Liberia should feel safe to run to security personnel in our country, regardless of who's chasing them, rather than running away from them. If anybody live in Liberia during the war and what happened, we witnessed what went on when you had to run away when you saw military or security officers from the government show up. So I'm glad to hear that. That being said, my question also is, it's interesting that we're zeroing in on the apolitical issue. However, the question I think we should be asking, though, is the military receiving the type of support that will not tempt it into being political? Because I think that's the critical question we are not asking. What often leads to these sectors becoming political and people becoming tempted? And now remember, sometimes it may not be the entire hierarchy of the military. In fact, what we're seeing in other countries is that it is sometimes sections of the military that tend to put themselves together, sometimes against the way of the hierarchy. And we've seen it from Guinea to other places or so. So it may not be the entire military. The critical question we need to ask is the military receiving a type of support that even if they are tempted to becoming political, because becoming political does not only have to be public, it can be quiet as well, where people are orchestrating and creating machinations to favor one side over the other. And that's where I am concerned, because the military can say it does not want to be apolitical all at once. If the military is not supported, as we're seeing in the past, if the military is not equipped to be able to do their work, you still run the risk of having the temptation, if not the whole military, personnel within the military, influential people within the military, creating problems and siding with politicians or orchestrating things in a way that kind of sides with a particular politician. For example, the military does not have the capacity to guide our territorial boundaries. Let's be honest. And this is not from President Weah's government. This comes from long time ago. So every day when we keep saying we rely on the military, the professionalism, they are strong. How many military people do we have? If God forbid we needed to call on the military, there would be stretched thin within the blink of an eye, because I don't think they have the logistical ability, the capacity to be able to do their job. And thanks to our military for being so professional all through. But I think we are asking them to do the type of work. And for me, I like accountability. To him or her, who much is given, much is required. We cannot have the military under-supported, underfunded, undercapacitated, but then we hope that we're about to have an election across the entire country. And if we need to call on them, they have to be equipped, prepared, and with the right capacity to respond. Are they there right now? I'm not so sure. So we shouldn't just stop on the apolitical thing. We should ask the critical questions about, is the military capacitated right now to do the job that they should be doing whenever these type of issues arise?
Dr. Richardson, I will ask you if I can get 30 seconds. Leo asking a very brilliant question.
Kev Hassan, can we just take our turn and go a little bit to Good Day?
No problem.
Then, okay. Good Day, did you want to say something about that, sticking to the role of the military in Liberia and what the Minister of Defense said about the military remaining apolitical?
Yeah, I think the minister spoke rightly, but even before we get to the minister, the current army or the current leadership of the army, starting with the chief of staff to his able lieutenants, I think they have been doing well. They have been doing well, and they are also showing to us that yes, they really went through what America taught them. But I want to address what Kev talked about. Kev said Zianga he's this, he's that. Maybe Kev was not involved into Liberian politics when the former minister, what's his name? Oh God.
Brandon Samuka.
Brandon Samuka. When Brandon Samuka was defense minister for 12 consecutive years. I will not blame Kev. At that time, Kev was still busy in America. He was not thinking about Liberian politics. He was not involved into things back home. Brandon Samuka, when he was defense minister, Kev cannot point to any campaign rallies where Brandon Samuka went there as defense minister and he started campaigning for the then president, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Brandon Samuka did not. The point here was that position, the defense ministry position, is like a representation between the civilian, that is the government, and the army. Meaning, the defense minister, if the president wants to send something, that is the government want the military to do something, the defense minister is there to take information to the military and to take information to the government, and to manage the affairs, the administrative affairs of the army. That is the work of the defense minister. That is why when you are in the army, if they are appointing you, you first have to resign. You first have to retire, not even resign. You have to retire from the army, meaning you no longer in the army, and then you are like me, Jingude Flomo. You will come back in private life, and then the president will appoint you. Zianga was one of the best chief of staffs we ever had in Liberia. He was one of them. And when President Weah got ready for him to go and serve in different capacity, he had to resign. When he resigned, what happened? Prince C. Johnson took his place. And Prince C. Johnson, in terms of the men and women who are in uniform, Prince is their boss. But when it comes to the administrative affairs of the army, it is the defense minister. The chief of staff can get vexed today and say, you not enter here, he can't enter. The chief of staff, when he get ready, he and men, God forbid, he said the defense minister not coming, he can't go there. Don't fool him. But the defense minister cannot stop the chief of staff or cannot get vexed and say the chief of staff will not enter the barrier. Who he is, he can't. So I want to let you know that the defense minister of Liberia, that position, that political position that they appointed you. But when you are there, you the individual, you can make it look political or apolitical. That is why the defense minister Somebody play music. Okay, that is why the defense minister, who is from the military background and he knows what it takes to have a peaceful country, is telling you that though he's the administrative head of the defense ministry, but they will remain apolitical, like what others did just 12 years ago. So again, the defense minister of Liberia was there. He said he went, he saw, he conquered. So he's one of the best, and I appreciate them. The current army of Liberia, I was not there in
We have to move
1991.
on. Thank you.
Yeah, just
Wrap it up.
2 seconds.
Mhm.
Just 2 seconds. The current army of Liberia today, I appreciate them, and I really, really, really love them, and I like their work. Thumbs up to the chief of staff and the defense minister.
Thank you, James. Aaron, did you want to add anything to the conversation before we go back to Kev Hassan?
Yeah, so on the statement made by the minister, I like to take it from two sides. Um, the first point is apparently the minister might be responding to some of those trickles of violence that he has seen in the country,
Mhm.
especially that the army has been very much concerned as it relates to militarization of young people, especially in political parties. And so the 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 army has been warning opposition folks and even folks within the ruling government political parties to depoliticize, I mean, or militarize youth in their various political parties. And so he might be speaking from that standpoint. But there are some things that do not need to be said. And that's the point that I look at it from. That whenever anyone tries to tamper with the peace of the country, uh, the the army will go against them. I don't think that needs to be said because that is the role of the army. If you read the purpose of the establishment of the army, it talks about to defend and guard the country's borders, safeguard national security, and protect the population from external aggression. National security that falls on national security. But I just cannot fathom why the army is so key about this. Because if you listen to the chief of staff, you say it, you listen to the defense minister saying this over and over and again. I was drawing an analogy. What what makes it strange that when your father, especially in our African setting, says that I will be giving full money to the horse, maybe he announced it, I'll be giving full money to my wife. It's not strange because that's something that is usual, his responsibility as a father. So I don't think that needs to be said, except that the army wants to create that, awareness or sometimes put that fear in people not to do certain things when they know that their rights are being violated. That's all. But sometimes I wonder why the army keeps saying this over and over. The defense minister have said this more than three times. Then you have the chief of staff also saying that, and it just repeatedly being said by them over and over and again. Yes. So I just cannot.
Thank
Yeah, I
you,
don't know the reason
Aaron.
why. Sometimes there are some things that to be said.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm going to go to Kev. You make a good point. I just want to bring Liberia's attention to the backdrop of war that we have, civil war, where military personnel took different interests. We had a long history of civil war. I don't know how how young or old you are, Aaron. And it was the military that took different interests. They kind of aligned with political figures in our country. And of course, you brought up the militarizing of the youth in the country. And I think against this backdrop is what the Minister of Defense was speaking about. So I think he was warning those people who have inspiration to be leaders of our country, who aspire to lead our country. He said, if your dreams fall short, if I'm just paraphrasing him a little bit, if your dreams fall short, please accept the will of the Liberian people. Do not come and entice us or come to us because this happened in our past. where people didn't want to accept the result of the election. They wanted to entice the election to come in, to change things around. This is how military coups have started in other countries where the military got involved because the military took a side. It took a side of a politician. So I think that's what he keeps on reminding us. But you're right not to ask the question that you asked, why you keep on reminding us. But I think it goes to our history, the history of Liberia, our history of our civil war. But you're very right to ask this question, because in many countries people don't even think about the military being
Man, the
involved.
army does not need to say that. Everyone know
That's
that that's the
correct.
role of the
But,
army, and
but
they
I was
should do that, protect the peace. I don't know,
That's correct, Era, and we're going to go to Kev Hassan. But I would just tell you, even in a great United States where the military is dormant, recently when President Trump walked out of the White House and came out with one or two military general, it became a topic. The military is supposed to remain apolitical. And that's what prompted that conversation when a president enticed the military to become political, to side with him. So our history has the history of Liberia, the Civil War. A lot of politicians enticed military officers to side with them, and to take political sides. And actually, Kef Hassan, we're going to go to you to speak what you want to say, and then we're also going to talk about Leo's question.
Yeah, I just want to clarify after Kev Hassan has a point I would like to clarify as well.
Yes, Kef Hassan, please go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Richardson, I will tell you this. I normally don't agree with you on some things, but I will agree with you. Brilliantly said. Because of our history, young people like Aaron, them need to understand we had a brutal past. Our military in the past took parts politically, and that's what brought the war. So to remind our people, it was a brilliant part by the um, the defense minister. So to state that, Dr. Richardson, that's a very very brilliant and good and education for our people, because I know I see Aaron. He's young. He may not remember some of those things, uh, or understand some of these things, why the defense minister is saying that. And you explain to him, Dr. Richardson, I'll take my hat off to you for doing that, because that is not politics. We should explain to our people, um, a young people like Aaron, then should understand that we have to remind our people our military should be neutral, because we know what happened. So he may not understand that. It's not like Aaron was just trying to throw something out, but I can tell that he don't understand what happened in the past, and we need to teach our people. To Leo, um, you talk about furnishing and financing the military. You're right. You make a lot of sense. But I can tell you what this government did for the military. They increased the budget of the military by 4 million US dollar. 4 million. Increases. Increases the pay of our military by 20%. And the most important thing, uh, the defense minister case in that went to the Supreme Court, Samuka case about taking the military money. This government paid $1.1 million, repay the military for their money that were cut by Brani Samuka illegally, that he found guilty by the court. Even Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not side with him. They even asked for her because he said, "Oh, he was ordered," but Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did not side because of that. But this government paid that money to the military. All the money they cut from them, that Brandon Samuka, today he's not a senator, he become a convict, is because of that. This government paid $1.1 million to the military. This government increased the military pay by 20%.
Okay,
This
Kev.
government increased the budget by $4 million. So you're right, and because of some of the things you're saying, this government look into it. We have to increase. And lastly, Dr. Richardson, lastly, you're talking about that's true because the last government should have beefed up our military because because we have 17,000 troops, they neglect our police, our military. It was neglect. We had a brilliant opportunity to train and beef up our military because I live under the 6th Infantry Battalion in Bomi County. I grew up with the 6th Infantry Battalion, so I know our military was big. But this government, the last government, did not do that. But one thing that this government did, this government, this government with the Ivory Coast, we had the chief of staff and the defense minister on this show, Dr. Richardson, if you remember. Sierra Leone and Ivory Coast, all our border, they have a joint security uh, 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 discussion that nobody cannot live in any country. What I mean, they're saying touch
Okay, Kev.
Liberia.
One
If
more
you
minute,
touch
please.
Liberia, yeah, if you touch Liberia, you touch Ivory Coast. If you touch Liberia, you touch Guinea. So they have that joint security agreement with them that you cannot leave any of those bordering country and do anything in Liberia. And if anything happen in Liberia,
Okay,
like,
Kev.
like a defense treaty, like a defense treaty. Anything happen in Liberia, the Ivorian
Okay, Kev.
troops will come into Liberia to not make for Liberia to not go under what we went. So it's
Okay.
already there. They have that defense treaty
So,
with our
so
neighbors. So we're
thank
secure.
you.
We're
Thank
very
you.
secure.
Thank you for that information. So, Leo, in
Yeah,
your
thank
answer to
yeah,
Kev, Kev asked you a question,
yeah.
and also he
No, I
wanted.
was just clarifying. I did not ask Leo because Leo
Oh,
asked that question. So I'll
oh,
clarify
okay.
what
Yeah.
Leo
Yes.
asked. I did not ask
So Kev said that $4 million was added, increased the budget for the military people. And you, in response to your question, where you're saying that we have to look at some of the causes that military becomes political. Okay, what are some of the causes? And you were saying that if we actually pay them well, increase their benefit, provide professional training for them, let them know the role in government, these are things that contribute to them being apolitical, as opposed to sometimes just saying, well, you guys should just stay apolitical. Jeff came back and said, well, this government compared to the previous government raised the budget. And so what's your response? And I want you to also speak about that if you can. You don't have to. In a way that is $4 million increase enough compared in the grand scheme of the budget of Liberia compared to other offices, the amount that they get. So go ahead,
No,
Leo.
so thank you. So first of all, I know I like to start by saying I know we've gotten used to what I like to describe as the danger of low expectations in Liberia. We've dumbed things down so much that wherever we ask for things or when we think about things, we think about the least we can do. We don't think about the best. That's what I like to call the danger of low expectation. And then we pretend that we can just be trying small as we go along. And there are certain things you can try small. So let me just give an example when I talk about capacity and support to the military. Right now in Liberia, you have about one soldier to 2,500 citizens. Let's do the math. One soldier, every soldier, you got about 2,500 citizens. That number does not even make sense to quell a riot. If a real riot broke up across Liberia, the military is nowhere close to be able to really respond, right? And when I talk about support to the military, I'm not talking about increasing budget here and there by 5%, by 4 million, because the military budget itself is inadequate. Your entire country budget is under $1 billion, which is voodoo economics to be able to do what you really need to do with that kind of money. That's just a fact. If you can raise more money, there is no way you can make that money make sense. Look, the military budget might just help them even keep their equipment operating. To keep equipment operating, basic military equipment operating, if anybody knows what it looks like. But here's what I'm confused about. I'm a bit confused that Zianka, the defense minister, is making this statement when the role of the military is to protect the territorial integrity of the Republic of Liberia. They do not get involved in civic matters. Elections are civic matters. The only time they get involved in civic matters, unless they are specifically asked to support the other security sectors like the national police and other security sectors that are directly responsible. The act creating the military clearly states the military will not have any interference or involvement with civic matters within the borders unless called upon to intervene to support. And by the way, they don't just intervene to directly to do their own thing. No, unless called upon to support the national police. So one will wonder, or critics will say, why then is our defense minister the one making this announcement? Wouldn't it be appropriate if the IG, the Inspector General of Police, was the one making this type of announcement, because they are the one primarily responsible for this tax? And if they feel inadequate, then they will reach out to the military directly for support with the president's approval. So I guess that's the big question to ask. How come we haven't heard from the IG some of these messages directly? Did the police already request the military support ahead of the election when the election hasn't even started, or we're not even close to it yet? I mean, was there the overstepping of bounds, would you say? Again, I don't know, but one thing is clear, that the military shall not be directly involved with civic issues within the borders unless expressly called upon in support of the Liberian National Police or other security actors that are responsible. So when I talk about capacity, I'm not talking about just increasing the military budget here by 4 million. I'm talking about doing a full assessment of what is needed by the armed forces of Liberia to confidently say they can protect the territorial integrity of the republic if the military budget was increased. How come we still got just over 2,000 soldiers then, if that was enough? That's one soldier for every 2,500 Liberians. If the military budget was increased, how come we don't have the type of deployment according to the military itself? They're not able to do the type of deployment across the country because of the logistical challenges that they have. So I'm not saying it's not good to increase the military budget, but what was the basis that informed that? Or was it just increased arbitrarily? And if it was, we can clearly see that the military still does not have the capacity to be able to do the job that they should be doing, in my opinion.
Good comments, good thoughts, Kev. So Leo is asking what contributed to the increase that Kev mentioned here, that the budget was increased up to $4 million. Leo wants to know what kind of analysis was done to say, this is where we are in terms of our country, this is the budget we have, and what led to the increase. Was it done randomly? Was it done by doing some kind of study? And he's also talking about if we increase the budget, would that also help us recruit people into the military so that we wouldn't have one person, one soldier up to 2,005 Liberians, one military per 2,005 Liberians. So that's what he's saying. He's saying with that, if we increase the money, would it help the military to get the logistic that they need to be able to protect the borders of our country? So, Kev, I don't know if you want to have any other words about that before we go on to our next conversation.
Leo is asking a lot of brilliant questions, and those questions Liberians need to know. When you're funding the military, recruitment is part of the funding. The reason, folks will say, "Oh, why are you going back?" The reason we're going back, because we had a perfect opportunity to build the army and the police, knowingly that ECOMOG will leave, international force will leave, UNMIL will leave. So you want to prepare the country for post-UNMIL. There was no preparation for post-UNMIL. We had the former police director on our show here, Gregory and A.B. Kroma. They stated here on our show that they asked the past government that was JMB government, Jose Yuma Bokai government, that had a front row seat that could make decision They ask them, post on mail, we need to build the police. And they said, "I will show the tips are there." That they asked, nothing they did, nothing, zero. They keep asking, they say, "Oh, well, we'll do it." They keep asking, "We had them here." Military too ask, nothing. What happened? Under this government, they decide to build the military and build the police. So by increasing the budgets for the military, it's part of logistic. It's not increasing the budget to just put money down, and it's building, it's recruitment, equipment, a lot of stuff. Like I said again, Leo, they have a joint security patrol, joint security agreement with our neighbors. Never happened in the history of Liberia. Under this government, initiate a joint security agreement. Dr. Richardson, Leo, you know that. Like NATO agreement. We have that in Liberia now. So that thing that happened 1989, December 24, will not happen again. And you know who did that? This president, this government. That it will not happen again. So why this government is building the military and building the police? The Ivorian and defense minister, the Ivorian government will not allow anybody to cross that.
I have two questions for you on that, Kev, quickly.
Yes.
So my first question to you will be, if the Ivorian government, the Sierra Leonean government, and let's say the Guinean government, let's say they have this pact, and are contributing their fair quota to ensure that pact is respected, is Liberia allowed to then have a free ride that they get lead their own military, hoping that when something happens, the other country taxpayers that are funding the military will be always the one to come to Liberia rescue, but Liberia does not have the same capacity when something happens? That's my first question. My second question to you is, yes, let's agree. The previous Unity Party government, let's agree, did not prepare for post-on-mail like you just outlined. And so we found ourselves in a situation when they left. But President Weah and the CDC saw that. And they told the Liberian people, we are capable, we will get the job done. And they've been president now for almost 6 years. And after 6 years, are you then telling the people that President Weah failed to then do post-on-mail since he took over from Madam Seri and Madam Seri failed? Are you also saying President Weah also failed? Because it's 6 years, and you are still telling us that the military is badly undercapacitated because of Madam Sirleaf and the Unity Party government's failure to do what they were supposed to do, which I fully understand, to prepare the military for on-mail departure. On-mail left, CDC took over, did the full assessment of what they were actually dealing with, and it's almost year number 6, we are going to election. Are you then admitting that President Weah also then has failed to be able to do that job like Madam Sirleaf, in your opinion?
Well, maybe, Leo, maybe you were not paying attention what I was saying. Increasing the budget of the military is not a failure. It's recognizing the military need to boost the military. Increasing the budget is a recognition of the failed behavior by the past government. So this government decided we have to increase logistic. We have to pay our people. Remember, the past government tried to take their money, but the defense minister took $1.1 million from them. This government paid. That's a morale booster. So this government is building the military. While building the military under this government, they decide to say, you know what? Let's talk to our neighbors. Let's have a NATO kind of agreement that while we're building our military and police, we will not, no attack will come upon our people by this government. So what this government is doing, unless the Joseph Yuma Boka government, there was no vision to build the military. The military was underfunded. Matter of fact, the defense minister took their money. The police were underfunded. You understand? But this government added $3 million in the 2022 budget for the police.
And are they
Recruitment, and
incapacitated now?
recruitment for the police. And
Okay.
Dr. Richardson, you can remember that some picture was showing that even the Ivorian police were helping to train the Liberian police. When people were asking why they had the Ivorian badge, you remember that picture we showed?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So under this government, there's more recruitments for the police and the military. So this government is building the military. We had a perfect opportunity because we had 17,000 troops at that time. We had professional from the ECOWAS nation to train our military in
So,
order for post unmail. But with all the funding, the Jose Yuma Bokai government did not do that. Did not do that.
So what I want to understand, Kev, are you saying that the CDC government does not have the funding, or are you saying that the military right now, because of the support of President Weah, the military and the police are fully capacitated to do their job?
What I'm saying to you, this government is building the military as we speak, and the police. That's what I'm saying to you. They are building by evidence of increasing the budget, by evidence of providing and increasing the logistic. That's a form of building. So we can see, we can judge from the past. The past did not do that. The past stayed there for 12 years. They not prepare for post unmail. This government is building it. So you see the burden on this government. So this government is building the military. This government, we had them on the show here. We had the defense minister, chief of staff, the police, the former police. They said it on the show. Matter of fact, the Unity Party police chief said it on the show. Gregory, Dr. Richardson were here. The tips are there. They said they asked, but nothing. They did not do nothing to do it. This police, this government is building the police.
Okay, so the government has the vision of building this, so they haven't built it yet. That's
They're building it. No. Listen. You cannot build the army and the police in 5 years. You have to.
So what's the government
plan?
plan?
Challenge. So it takes time to continue to build it and build it and build it. The military that we had pre-war was not built in 5 years. I live under the 6th Infantry Battalion, so I know it was trained by the United States Army. They've been training from the 70s. Our military from the 70s. We know that.
Yeah, and
So
that military was a colossal failure when they had their first major test, and we saw how they failed. So
that's another debate.
okay, guys. So we're having a wonderful conversation here about the role of the military in Liberia. We've recognized Minister Zanga, Minister of Defense, and his contributions that he's making to keeping our country peaceful. We recognize the Chief of Staff, Prince Charles Johnson, Major General of the military, and also Brigadier General Geraldine Janet George. She's also Deputy Chief of Staff based on the website. So we want to just tell all of the leaders in the military, thank you for serving our country and for maintaining our military. I think we have a great discussion here, and we hope that Minister Zanga and his Chief of Staff, Prince Johnson, can come here because we want to know, Kev said that this government is building the military. Perhaps they can come here and share the plans of building the military to the standard of best practices among military. Are we building our military to meet the standard of best practices, or are we just, Leo is asking, are we just taking $4 million and say, yeah, take, this is what we have in the budget? What was the methodology or the planning process that led to us allotting $4 million in the budget to our military? And Kev is saying we are building the military. We met Buckeye's government military in a not so good condition, and we are now building upon the military. So thank you guys for your conversation. I would like us to move on to our next conversation for the show, which is looking at, it's elections time in Liberia. We have a couple more months. If Tamalin was here, I'm missing you, Tamalin. He will tell us how many more months we have until elections. So now we want to discuss what is the pathway for George Weah to win elections in Liberia, to become the next president of Liberia. George Weah have done two things in the past week. He had a rally where CDC now can argue, you see all the people that we have, we're very popular. We have, all of these people in Liberia that are subscribing to our ideology here. So we are sure on to win. And we've now signed 2 out of 3 members on our framework agreement, where they are now collaborating with us. They are serving as our coalition to win. So these are 2 major things that it did. So what is George Weah's pathway? I'll start with you, Kev Hassan. If you can please, let's have this discussion. What is George Weah's pathway for winning Liberia? And then we'll also go winning the presidency to lead Liberia. And then we'll go to Leah Johnson. Go ahead, Kev.
The pathway of George Weah winning the election is based on his performance and tangibles as our Liberian people turn out on Saturday to show the world that they believe in the president's vision, and they believe in what this president is doing, and they can feel and they can touch the tangibles. So that's why that's a pathway. A lot of people will look at some pathway. Oh, let's collaborate with Peter and Moses, but this present pathway is based on what his performance, and by evidence of Saturday shows, by the tsunami that we saw Saturday, shows that the people believe in the vision from this president. We can go deep into some of the tangibles if you want to ask, but the a lot of people saying that inflation from 30% to 7%, the young people TVET from 6 to 15 counties, 6 county met to 15 counties, healthcare, as we can see, is improved. Seriously improve. We are looking at the hospitals that build, not only the hospital, we're looking at, under this government, we have dialysis center, under this government, oxygen under this government, basically wine bombing in Monserrato. We are seeing one of our panelists, Ben Savvy, he always say that he lost his father based on oxygen. But under this president, we having that. So we can go into various sectors, everything under this government. We look at gender. The more mechanism in place under this government to tackle the rape of our young children. Under this government, students who I will say this, it may sound bad, but one of my good friend, my younger sister, said that on this show. When she was graduating, people wanted to sleep with her because of WIAC fee. But under this government, our young girls will no longer be subject to abuse by men who want to sleep with them to pay the fee. This president break that. This president break that. So we saying those things. So when we saw our young girls, first time voters, came out on Saturday, because those girls will no longer want to sleep with or older men to pay their wife fee. This president stopped that. And we all know, we know the experience in Black Africa, that before they do something for you, men will want to sleep with you. This president said, no, you will not pay that fee. So these are some of the things that they will vote this president back in, because that was the past. That was the old. Under this president, my little sister, Mama Sikaba, and her sister will no longer be subject to abuse. Will no longer be subject to abuse. So these are the tangibles that we want to continue. We want to continue the freedom that Dr. Richardson can come on and blast this government and go to Liberia and still dance Buga. Nobody will touch you. That's what we want. That's the Liberia we want to live. So we can go into it and let's see what are the tangibles. We're going to show the pictures of TVET under this government, a vocational institute around the building around. I have the pictures I can show in Sano, in Maryland. They have them, and most of all, the First Lady building the city of hope. That our children will have hope, our girls will have hope. Dr. Richardson, I was sitting beside you. I sat beside you in Monrovia, and I shed tears. And you saw me shed tears when I saw our people. This president would no longer want our people to be that way. I sat beside you. I tapped on you. I said, Dr. Richardson, look, under this government, there will be a city of hope by the First Lady. The pictures are there. We can show them. What a remarkable thing to see the First Lady, what she's doing for our nation. I take my hat off to Claudia. Thank you, First Lady, for what you're doing. So we can go into it.
Okay.
I will take the whole day.
Oh, excellent. Yes. Thank you very much. Leo Johnson, yes, we are looking at the pathway for President George Weah to win the presidency. And he's mentioned, and I would just briefly say, he says the performance and intangible of Weah, and he mentioned his vision. 3 things in a nutshell that basically is the pathway. He said those 3 things are the pathway for George Weah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I listened to Kev carefully, and I must say, it's interesting to see how there was no mention of the real issues on which we should be evaluating President Weah and the government of Liberia, in my opinion. So, your critics will say to you that the pathway, President Weah has an election to lose. The opposition does not have an election to actually lose. The opposition is already in opposition. So if the opposition loses, they didn't lose anything. They failed to win something, but they didn't lose anything that they already had. If President Weah loses, he has a deficit that he has lost. So President Weah has a harder job than the opposition, in my opinion. But I would just say this. For me, President Weah's pathway to the presidency will lie on two key things. Number one, it will not be on his charitable efforts and personal efforts, in my opinion. It will be on the ability to demonstrate the tangibles of government agencies and the functionaries of the government to have achieved what was committed to the Liberian people through the PAPD. So when I ask to evaluate the government, I'm not going to, and great on President Weah and Claire Weah for all the great initiatives across the country, right? That's amazing. When ordinary citizens or private citizens do that, we thank them, we hail them, because guess what? They're using their own resources or using other resources to do it. When the president, who is everybody's leader, is entrusted, we will hold the president accountable based on what you promise, right? Is the Ministry of Defense functioning very well? Is it executing and meeting its demands? Do they have the type of budgetary support? Is the Ministry of Education functioning very well? Do they have the budgetary support and all of the things in place to ensure that the education system of Liberia can be elevated, right? Is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our international missions across the world, Are they functioning at optimal? Can Liberians trust that the foreign ministers of Liberia can protect them, can seek their best interest, right? Is the Ministry of Lands and Mines Energy, are they functioning very well? That's one, and that's the tangible side. So when we try to evaluate what President Weah is actually doing, I mean, we can talk about excesses and all the other things that the private and personal projects, but can we say then, because those projects, guess what? They are not sustainable within the framework of government when they are done as private entities. Because you always have to remember, President Weah will be gone. President Weah is not president for life. Whether he wins a second term or not, one day he will not be president. If these things are not within the circumference of government, there is no way you can hold government accountable for having these things being sustainable. We've seen many projects like that before in the past. So how come these things are not being done within the PAPD as defined? And where is the metrics of measurement since the PAPD was introduced? I haven't seen one yet from the government. If it's out there, you can share it. Can we say that government ministers are no longer running ministries by their Gmail accounts, where when they're leaving, they can choose whether or not to turn over things or not? Can we say that when legislation is passed in Liberia, it is accessible for people to see, and you got to get connection with a lawmaker before they can send it to you privately? Where can we say that? And the second piece will be on the politicking of the day. And here is the politicking of the day. President Weah is actually in a worse off situation than he was in 2017. We already know that. President Weah has a constant support base of between 29 to 35%. We know that from 2005. We saw that 2011. For President Weah to get over the hump, he had to engage and form a coalition with NPP and LPDP and the members of the coalition that he brought together. Excellent job. The challenge here is we have seen these coalition parties struggling to even organize themselves in support of President Weah, even though the government is in power. Usually the government in power should have an easier route to a coalition because they have influence, they have state resources. And the politicking that's going on now, the leaders or key figures in these parties feel like they have to demonstrate to President Weah that they got everything under control. So they are creating all kinds of orchestrations and machinations to try and get things through. The question we should be asking, why would the president hold a nomination ceremony that was planned a while ago and the other constituent parties could not honor their obligation on the mean day? And there had to be a lot of other machinations to try and get them to the table. Now, the question we should be asking is that coalition is not as strong as it was in 2017. What people fail to forget, it was just not the coalition that made President Weah to win the election. There were all kinds of independent people that crossed to support CDC outside of the coalition. Whether it was Prince Johnson, whether it was key figures from Liberty Party, whether it was some key figures from Unity Party, that all crossed over to support the CDC in addition to what the coalition brought. Now, we haven't seen that same type of mobilization. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still months away from elections, and I know a lot of engagements are still happening. But if you ask me today, all of those people peeling away from the CDC decreases the CDC number. So CDC might win first round, but guess what? Are they going to hit the 50% plus one? That is a big question. And if the president is not able to hit that 50% plus one, I think his pathway becomes much more difficult in the second round, where you wouldn't have a splinter person or a splinter group on the opposition side facing up to him. It's going to be those who think the country is going well and should continue with CEC, or those who think the country is not going well and they need a change in the country. It's going to be a clear-cut decision to be made if the president cannot pull up 50 plus one in a first round election, and the election has to dwindle down to two key parties, because at present, Bon County is shaky, Nima County is shaky, Lofa County is shaky, and without those three counties, it would be tough.
Mr. Johnson, Kev, do you have any thoughts? Because Mr. Johnson said, he said a lot of things here, but most important, he's looking at the measurement of the PAPD to the application to Liberians. Is President Weah applying his promises that he made in the PAPD to Liberians? That's, I think, in a nutshell, versus a lot of things that he said. So you respond to that, Kev.
You see, having Leo on the show, I would say this: it's an added value. The reason I would say this is what Leo is saying. Give me the opportunity to bring out some of the things that the people need to know. So he asking and he flagging a lot of good stuff, and that make us prepared to bring some of these things. So um, he talked about not only uh, the NPP, the other parties that uh, made Judge Manawia to win this election. It's crossed over by individuals. I would say, Leo, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. At this moment, we have more crossover from the other side to this government than 2017. I know that. Oh God, my sister, Dr. Richardson, know that. She may not say that, but she know that. We have a lot of names that cross over now that in the coming weeks or months you will hear them that joining us. They're saying it. And I can tell you, after Saturday, we have calls from people and say, this is over. We coming along. The problem is come out and say it. But that's true. You're correct. People are coming over. People are crossing over. A lot of people are crossing over. Individuals are crossing over. Pictures will be coming out. Some pictures that we do, but we can't put it out now because the election will be over. But I can tell you, Leo.
So I can only talk about right now until the other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
announce.
No, I agree with you, Mom. I agree with you. You can talk, but I can tell you this. I can tell you this. We do have people. I personally I have talked to people within the communist team that I personally can say that I personally have met people within the communist team in Liberia. I personally have met. I personally have spoken, but I am not the one to announce that. I will not announce that. But I personally, I know some of my spoon people call me in my room in Liberia and say, "Hey, this gentleman here to see you." I would not call him.
Today, breaking news, oh, can't say getting calls. Oh.
Yeah, no, but I cannot say. Dr. Richard said that no, I was in my room and said this person within the communist team have met me.
So
I met other people. So let me say this. Uh, uh, um, you know, Leo. So we have people. We have people, but you will see, and you will be on the show, Leo, and I'll remind you. I say this is what I was telling you about. you know, but but but
yeah, finish up. Let me just also
yeah,
complete.
but
Mhm.
but again, you ask about the pillars of this president. If we look at healthcare, education, um, you for now, and I was talking to my colleagues there on Spoon. I said we should start to talk about healthcare, education. Let's put the discussion to healthcare, education, all those things. We should not take the discussion about trivial thing. Them talk about somebody should let go into education. Let's go into healthcare, gender issue. You know what the what the Liberian people want to hear. Let's talk about those things, move forward, and let's talk about the pathway.
But
Let's go.
Kevo, let me ask you. Same with your year number 6 now. I heard the president say a year address. Oh. What the metrics for the PAPD here? Why 1 million people you are coming to all the poverty, you've been counting there, and where I can get other thing. If it didn't work, I just tell say, it didn't work because of whatever reason. So we know, but 1 second sometimes the PAPD creeping, sometimes it doesn't creeping. So I'm kind of confused. Did we throw away the PAPD yet, or are we still
No,
on it?
we the PAPD is strong, is there. And if we go into what I'm asking you about, what I'm talking, if we talk about education, we'll see what the PAPD talk about. We'll talk about healthcare, we'll see what the PAPD talk about. We'll talk about women, we'll see what the PAPD talk about. So we have to go into those things. Not just say, oh, PAPD. So let's tackle education. Then we'll talk about what the PAPD. We have more people.
Mama, you like a report here, Kev? Rating report, Asa.
So can I just ask, Kev and Leo?
There's a written report. I can send it to you.
Can
I will
we-
send it to you, Leo. I will send it to you, my brother. There's a written report.
So,
That's a good
Kev,
question. I will email. I will send it to your WhatsApp today. Yeah.
I actually think it's a great idea, Kev, for us to go into some of the things that are meaningful to Liberians, like the healthcare, education, the economy, and all of those things in which was mentioned in the PAPD. So, in both of your responses this question that I have is, can you include the NAMOTH report, NAYMOT, NAMOTH report? They actually did a good presentation from what my eyes can see so far in reading. Again, I don't want to, I don't quite know the organization that well for me to say I'm biased either way, but they presented pillar one of the PAPD, and they said power to the people. And under power to the people, they mentioned education and training. President Weah made a total of 36 promises to the people, and he only completed two. He has 10 that are ongoing, and 24 of the promises that he made have not started. When it came to health and sanitary, he completed four, five are ongoing, 15 have not started. So it was a total of 24 promises he made to the people. You spoke about gender equality, Kev. Um, he completed zero, which is hurtful to me as a woman. 8 is ongoing, and zero not started. He made like a total of eight promises relating to gender issues. So I could go down the line, Kev. I'm just going. I don't know if you want to go back to that report if you have that report, but this is something from the PAPD, what Leo mentioned, or you can basically speak about what you know about his performance, his tangible, and his vision. Those are the words that you use for us here. I was just using one example, which is the NAMOTH report, MAYMOTE, NAMOTH report, not MOTH, NAMOTH report. That's what I was going from. So, Kev, you want to go ahead and mention and talk, and then we'll go to Leo.
And Dr. Richardson, I don't know the organization, but I can tell you this. Um, it's good that Leo here, you guys have a broad uh, uh, idea about what's going on in the Western world. We know when we when the American people decide to to push in, and the government of Barack decided to push in the affordable health care, they have other independent watchdogs, or how you call them, whatever name, try to shred it to tell you it's not good. But people who use it tell you it's good. They're saying it. So to have some of those people who come out to say, "Oh, they didn't do this and that," it's part of normal democracy in the world that people will disagree. For example, right? You listen to this the State of the Union. 5 minutes after that, the Republican came and tell you that Joe Biden is the biggest liar ever in the history of America. So to come out with such a report from those people, it doesn't mean it's true. But you know what? True. We can see the Bapolu Hospital of Canto Healthcare. That's true. Can that report, or can that organization tell you it's a lie? No, it's true. It's there. 100 beds is there. State of the art equipment. You know what's true? The hospital in Riverside. You know what's true? The dialysis center. You know what's true? The oxygen tank. So we can go on and on. That's under healthcare. And you also know what's true under gender? More cases. The mechanism that the Honorable Pisotap put in place for people to report of rape. So you see, we target more people that are going around and abusing our women. So you see what this government doing. So if you see the cases increase, you see that this government, the mechanism they put inside. Then the last government, you didn't hear nothing.
So,
They
but then,
do
Kev,
know.
why
They
you got
do this.
government officials
So
flying to other countries still now? If our healthcare not improved like that, how come we can deal with these simple issue like accident happening? We're flying government officials to other countries if the healthcare system has improved.
good question. Good question, Leo. And I want you to understand this. Uh, Referral in every country, even in your country you live in, referral. When the doctor refer you, you have to oblige. You have to, because even the Saudi prince, who have billions, come to Minnesota. Even the Saudi prince, the sultan, come. My mother was working to. My mother is late now. She was working to Washington. And hospital, a healthcare center in DC and Advances. We we they do have hotel there in our hospital, one of the best in DC. We have the Arabs all over. My favorite thing I can tell you this: Nwanko Kanu, Nwanko Kanu, who played for Arsenal, had a heart defect, fell down. He was he was flown to America in Atlanta to do his surgery. So it doesn't. So for people to fly into different countries is based on your doctor, what your doctor require. Based on that, for example, if I run you through the scan and I see that uh, in Saudi we cannot treat you, let's send you to Atlanta. So it happened. You ask a question a lot of Liberians keep asking, oh, if the healthcare there, why are you flying people? No, it's not based on that. You can have the best. There are people, the Ghanaian president go to England for treatment. But Ghana do have good medical facility. It depends on what your doctor recommend. So it's not that healthcare is improving every day, every day, every day. So you can have a something, you can have a heart defect or something. You have to, for for example, and the former vice president had to travel to. He left the country, and it was early stage in Joe Manuel government. But we had that heart problem because of the election. He said it because of the election. They have to take him to Georgia. Sorry, I think to Rhode Island to do that pacemaker because we couldn't do it in Liberia. They couldn't do it in Ghana. They couldn't do it in Africa. They had to fly him abroad. So that's what it is. So
Okay, so
it doesn't
Kev,
mean that your head here, Dr. Lucy, let me just round up. It doesn't mean because flying somebody that means that your healthcare is not good. But what we need to know, the basic things like dialysis that we used to fly people out of Monrovia, out of Liberia, you no longer can fly our people. The basic thing of oxygen, that's oxygen. We no longer can fly our people. We have it there. So the basic things that we supposed to have, we have it there. And all those things is because of this government. It's a
okay,
fact.
thank you, Kev. So, Leo, do you want to go ahead and respond to that? And we have to move on.
Yeah,
Let's discuss
yeah, no question.
the
Yeah,
pathway of Joseph Buckeye, which would be our next segment, and the pathway of Cummings would be our last segment before we go. So go ahead. Do you have any final thoughts about what Kev was saying?
Just quickly on some thoughts of what Kev is saying. Again, I talked earlier about the danger of low expectations. And I want us to be careful with it because I even hear people say, oh, that thing you're talking to Liberian people can listen to that thing, and I'm going to Liberian people can actually vote. So we are actually relying on the fact that our Liberian people will be ignorant all the time. So because of that, we should always settle for the least, which is a sad thing because I would think any country, the leaders of that country will be trying to get their people to a place of being able to better appreciate things. So my challenge with all of the things you're naming is I have not seen an orchestrated process that is creating a system. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Okay, we have a dialysis center in Liberia now, which is great. By the way, let me acknowledge that. But your critics will say, okay, we got one dialysis center in Liberia. So the day breakdown, and can one dialysis center serve a population of over 5 million people? Let's talk again about the new hospital in Bapolu. Great again. We can't take it away from the government. Every time there is one more thing, we must acknowledge that that is great. But my problem is that part of a robust overall system to say how many hospitals we need in Liberia right now to properly, efficiently supply the healthcare sector? Do we have a plan that says, okay, we need 13 hospitals in the country? And do we have a plan that says, where are the hotspots that those hospitals are needed the most? Where is the plan that says why a referral hospital would be built somewhere versus a research hospital somewhere versus a teaching hospital somewhere, which is why it is a bit backwards when we haven't even done the census yet to be able to know how are these things being made, which is why for someone like myself, that's what I like to see. Because you know what? Even those of us Liberians, ordinary Liberians who are working out there, we would like to say, you know what? We have the government plan, and it clearly shows that a hospital is needed in Bapolu or in Lofa County. So when we're out here talking to people and somebody says, I can help you with one hospital, we don't just go and put it somewhere random. We have something to follow. So I'm struggling. It looks like we're doing these things one-offs. And as a result of that, the type of support that should be in place to make it happen is not there. Okay, we built a hospital in Bapolu. Where is the system that says how these hospitals will be supplied, equipped, not just when it's new and built the first time on the donor support, but over a long period of time? Can we confidently say our budget right now, as it is, we are able to support the 14 military hospital, the new Bapolu hospital, and all the other hospitals combined? So I call that the danger of low expectation. Don't give me one gives and dangling fruit. Show me the plan of rebuilding the health system and the health sector, because it is that we take out to the world and say, look, in 10 years, here is the roadmap, here is the plan, and here's how we will start, and here's where we will start.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to our next segment.
That's 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds, Kev, and then we're going to move on.
You know why I love to talk to Leo. By the way, Leo, before you leave this show, please talk about what you do in Liberia. I want people to know that you're not one of the person that just talk. You have stuff that you're doing. You're building a library. You're doing something. You're working. You're not a talk guy. Let others who will talk and nothing to show for. Before you leave the show, please talk to what.
I'll give him time, Kev, to talk about that.
You are giving time. Thank you. But let me say this. You're right. What you said. This government do know some of your concern. This government do put in place about the hospital in Bapolu will not just be built and just leave it. No, it will not happen. It will continue to function. Again, if you have a government that built one dialysis center, you need to give that government a chance to build another, versus want to bring another government in who never built it.
Okay, Kev.
So, yeah, go ahead, Dr.
Yes. So, just to close this segment, we're talking about the pathway for George Weah winning the presidency in Liberia, and Kev said that we should look at his performance, his tangible, and his vision. And of course, Leo is telling us that he wants to see a systemic plan for healthcare, education, the economy, something that's systemic, where he can see some sustainability in the future, because we have a plan. We will not just be giving like the dangers of low expectations, what he talked about as well. And I just want to also, and I mentioned the NAMOT report, which is an organization that served as a watchdog organization to check our governments. They came out with a report looking at the PAPD, and they said that George Weah made many promises to Liberians that he did not fulfill. And specifically, I want to speak about some of the gender equality promises that he made that is under the category of ongoing. One is the review existing gender policies. He promised that he was going to review existing gender policies and strengthen where needed to ensure gender equality in public and private sectors. That is ongoing. He also said that he was going to establish in communities within various counties a viable adult literacy program for rural farming and market women. That is ongoing. Um, Support and strengthen existing acts and regulations on violence against women. That is under the category of ongoing. Establish gender and social inclusion units in all government ministries and agencies and commissions. That is under the category of ongoing. Curb sexual and gender-based violence. That is under the category of ongoing. Engage with traditional leaders to end all forms of harmful traditional practices um, to girls and women. That is under the category of ongoing. I must say, in a day or so, we just had the banning of female genital circumcision in Monrovia, Montserrat County specifically. So we have to assess that category a little bit. There are proposed an anti-female genital mutilation bill that is ongoing according to NAMOT. Prioritize their participation of more women in the electoral process and in key positions in going. That is ongoing. So I'm actually going to end here as we move on to our next segment, and we'll talk about that for another 30 minutes. That we just give 30-40 minutes to George Weah. We're going to give another 30-40 minutes to this discussion of the pathway for Vice President Joseph Yuma Boakai. Kev, could you please tell us the pathway to the presidency for Joseph Yuma Boakai?
Dr. Richardson, it's difficult to talk about the pathway of a failed a vice president. How can I see the pathway of an individual who admitted that he squandered the opportunity? Why we want to put somebody in there that don't have a pathway? There is no pathway for JMB. Let's look at it. JMB people spoke about he coming to America to meet with dignitaries of the U.S. government, to hold a meeting and all that. What we saw him in the basement, sitting down watching folks playing pool. We saw him around, taking him places. We saw a fun. I don't know what they were doing. It's a fundraising program. We saw 50 people. We saw them raising under $3,000, which I could just give it to him. He don't need to come and say, "Papi, you want that $3,000? I can send it to you." Say that, enjoy yourself, pay your bills.
Yeah, but I know the amount of money people raising here now. Say,
Oh yes, I know. But
22,000. It was on. I saw it.
Dr. Richardson, if I can send it, let me send to to James to put it up and see if this is 22,000.
That's what I saw on the Facebook. I don't know the
Dr.
actual
Richardson, Dr. Richardson, Dr. Richardson,
amount. Yes.
are you telling me everybody let's look at the video. Everybody paid $1,000.
Yeah, maybe there were some people who made some outside pledges. I'm just saying that it raised 22,000. That's what I heard. In fact, I read that on Henry Costa's
Costa,
page.
Costa,
Henry Costa said
Costa
that they
was in
raised
charge. Costa
22,000.
was in charge of the Zelle, and he
Costa
said,
said on his Facebook page they raised 22,000, Kev.
"Dr. Richardson, I can put my Facebook page today that raised $1 million. Dr.
Okay, Kev,
Richardson, is
I'm
that
not going to
true?
argue with you.
Is that true? I can raise. I can say it.
Oh, let me say, please let Kev go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Richardson. Dr.
yeah, no,
Richardson,
let Kev go
let me
ahead.
send this picture to you with it.
Please send it to James. And James,
Yeah,
please watch. Kev is sending you a picture. And I also
yeah,
send you a set of
yeah,
pictures
let
as
me
well,
send
James.
this picture. If that so they can play. You know, let's see it. Let me send it to James. James, I sent it to you on your WhatsApp, my brother. Let's put it out there and let's see if that 22,000 there. Costa said he in charge of the Zelle, Leo. The man Zelle himself, he said I'll put 500. So you Zelle yourself 500. So that means he Zelle himself. Come on, man, Dr. Richardson. Let me say this to you. Our Liberian people, we should not joke with them and play scam. They suffer too long. I bring back this thing to you. A lot of people didn't know that. Dr. Richardson know that. I shed tears in front of her when I saw our children. I saw. I was coming down from Duko that night, Dr. Richardson, when I saw people look like me on the streets. And I asked myself, where with that money? You know that, Leo, that will pour into Liberia under JMB. Where that money that will pour into Liberia? We have 17,000
Okay,
troops.
Kev, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes.
Yeah, where that money to help our people? There you go. That's the picture right there. Is they look like 22,000? That it look like 22,000.
So, Kev, can we put this in the context of the pathway to JNB winning the presidency? So,
Yeah,
are
that's
you
what
saying
that's what I'm going to. You,
Okay, I'm sorry, Kev. I just
yeah,
wanted to.
that's what I'm going to. If you go into the heart of Philadelphia, where you have a lot of Liberia, Philadelphia. By the way, Philadelphia, New York, and Minnesota. That's where you get Liberian people all over in America. My people in Liberia, Philadelphia is one of the places then that you can pass. You think you in Liberia. I'm telling you, my man. You think you in Liberia. The people refuse to turn out. They refuse because Liberians will no longer buy in the mentality of games.
I mean, people were working, man. So people came from work straight to the place.
Love you, I am there. let me,
Okay. So,
let
Kev,
me,
I'm going to turn over to Leo, and Kev is saying to us here he cannot discuss the pathway
I can
for
see it.
he cannot see it. He cannot visualize. He cannot imagine. He cannot visualize the pathway for Joseph Boakai to win, Vice President Joseph Boakai to win the presidency, because he said, number one, Vice President Boakai told him he squandered opportunities. Number two, he's looking at the connection between the fundraising, raising such amount of money in light of Vice President Boakai telling us that they were going to come here and meet business people, entrepreneurs who will contribute some kind of investment to Liberia. But what he saw was a fundraising that actually accrued $22,000. Actually, he's telling me he doesn't believe that $22,000.
I can guarantee. I can tell you that it's under 3,000. I can tell you that for fact.
Okay, all right.
That is-
I'm just going by what I read. That's not fact either. It was just something on Facebook. Leo, can you please
Dr. Richardson,
Thank you.
Leo,
Thank you.
Dr. Richardson, they told us that Christopher Columbus discovered America. Man.
Okay, all right. I will go back to it.
Yes, I'm just reporting what I heard and what I
Yeah,
read.
Christopher Columbus
But
discovered
Ernest, you
America.
see,
Right?
you can see the pathway.
Yeah, but-
You can see this pathway. So, Leo,
Yeah.
please.
But,
Yeah,
but,
but if you want to read
uh,
everything, then believe that Christopher Columbus discovered America, please.
but on a very serious note,
Yes.
again, JMB remains one of the formidable opposition candidates in this election, in my opinion. And when you talk about the pathway for JMB, there are a few things I would like to mention. Number one, it would be JMB demonstrating that he's that experienced statesman who has been the second in command for 12 years, but even before that, had a vast experience in government and understands the complexities of how government runs, yea, the issues that Liberia faces. Why am I saying that? Right now, I think that's one of the places JMB is struggling. I will say that to you, Dr. Francine. I'll give you an example. I see a very disorganized way in which JMB is being handled, or his campaign or his team is being handled. And it surprises me a little bit. I will give you an example. From the day, at first I thought that, right, maybe, it's not campaign time yet, and, so candidates will allow a lot of things, a lot of supporters to go out and do things on their own. So I was like, fair enough. But from the day I saw JMB travel to Nigeria, when he went on that trip, how can the former vice president and, presidential candidate, major opposition leader, leaving the country? There was not a single press release, for example, from the Unity Party, saying the former vice president will be visiting Nigeria, will be meeting, will be doing some interviews, meeting with key officials or whatever. Fine, you didn't want to do that. It's like the vice president traveled, that was secret. And we woke up one morning on Arise TV, I saw JMB on an interview. I'm like, okay, what is the purpose of this? Since Unity Party didn't give any reason for the vice president trip. Interview was great, I listened to it. And then JMB got on a plane. Now, there were only a few in that plane. So that picture was taken intentionally because clearly the post for the picture was taken, and then somehow the picture filtered to Facebook. And that picture would have only filtered to Facebook for one of the people who were in there. There's no way. It's not like he was in a stadium somewhere and everybody was taking his or it's not like he was looking away somewhere, somebody snuck around and took his picture. When the picture surfaced on Facebook, State Unity Party did not say anything. Until the gossip started going around and people started throwing their own aspersions on what it meant. Then Unity Party came back angry with everybody else for saying things that they felt did not happen. I'm like, okay, you decided to say nothing about what was going on. So people who felt they had other information put it out. That was number one. Number two, when JMB got ill and checked into, now remember, this is a major opposition figure. Anybody can get sick, regardless of your age, whether you're young or old or not. Everybody can get sick, but it is amplified, especially when you're a major opposition candidate and there have been questions and people asking about your age. JMB got sick, checked into the hospital. Why was it so difficult for Unity Party, if they were not suspicious of anything, to come out, draft a press release and say, you know what, the former vice president fell ill and was checked into ERWA, but so far, based on what the doctors have told us, and he's recovering very well, he's responding to treatment, and he wanted to let the Liberian people know that there is no need to panic, everything is great. We heard nothing until the gossip started spelling out again that JMB was this, JMB was that, JMB was this. Now, instead of them even officially responding, they came on interviews and said, oh, no, JMB is well, he's strong, he's in good health, everything is great. Until we saw a video surface of JMB in the hospital saying everything else except his own health, except anything about the health. Now, they released that video without a statement, again, to say JMB checking into the hospital, he's doing well now, he's recovering, so no need to worry. JMB checked out of the hospital. Again, they did a press conference. We still don't have any proper press release to say, you know what? The vice president checked into the hospital, was suffering from this illness, and was treated, fully recovered, and is back on the street, will be back on the campaign trail. You remember on the show, Dr. Francine, when I was here, I said the vice president is coming to the United States again. They were running around telling everybody, that the VP is coming to the US, And Stanton asked, because when I was on the show, other people asked, and I made a remark, that it would be so great for you guys to do a press release it, and let us know that the vice president is coming to the US, he's coming to fundraise, he's coming to meet with partisans, he's coming to connect with some of his supporters so that people don't run with the gossip. Because when the gossip starts, since the vice president came, I'm yet to see an itinerary or a press release to say why the vice president is here. You don't need to tell us all his private meetings and stuff. Just overall, what is the objective of the trip so that we don't go be picking up gossip from people's Facebook pages and what they think the VP is actually doing. So you see people saying the vice president was in basement, drinking liquor, washing pool. You think if we had an official statement, responsible people, right, of what the VP is here for, we'll be listening to any nonsense like that? Because, the people who want to do that stuff can go do it, but responsible people will have something to go by. So I think the VP pathway is going to be he demonstrating the experience, right, the sophistication, and the caliber of experience that he has gathered to be president. The second piece is going to be consolidating Lofa County. Lofa County clearly the last senatorial election shows, and people will say the VP were not on the ballot. That is true. And I agree that is different when the VP is on the ballot. But clearly, the fact that JMB could not, wield, and you have not Brandy Sambuca, what's the guy, Cottyman. You had Cottyman on the ticket, and JMB went down, spent about a week or whatever in Lofa County, and it made it like a battleground, by the vice president showing up, and still could not pull off Lofa County. It means Lofa County is splinter. The Koji's of the world, the Thomas Fowler of the world have been going, whether you like it or not, you cannot tell me that they don't have any votes in Lofa. So JMB needs to consolidate Lofa, and then JMB needs to start looking around with his coalition as to what to do. But the biggest pathway is going to be his vice presidential pick. I think that will be the defining moment as to whether he will be president or not.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. If you're just joining us, we've been having a series of discussions going on. One, we talked about Armed Forces Day in Liberia. We presented some good conversations about the role of the armed forces in Liberia, how we played a speech from Minister Zanka, and he was talking about how the armed forces will remain apolitical under his watch, and that even people who are running for political offices right now, if you do not accomplish your goal, please do not run to the military or try to entice them to engage in any kind of unrest in the country, because that will not happen under his watch. There are a couple of conversations here. Leo's joined in and said that if we have a plan on increasing the military, perhaps they will not engage in civil unrest as they have done in the past. There's a reason he said we should explore reasons in which the military around the world, or these militaries in Africa, tend to engage in civil unrest. And so now we have moved the conversation to the pathway. We talked about the pathway of WIA. Kev said the performance of WIA, the vision of WIA, intangibles is his pathway. And then Leo said, what has the president? Let's look at some of the president promises that he has made, in what is consistent with the PAPD. So he gave us a few examples. Now we're talking about JMB's pathway. Kev said he couldn't visualize the pathway for JMP. That was what Kev said, because he said JMP himself admitted that he squandered opportunities. He came here. They told us when he was coming that he was going to come and meet business people and entrepreneurs that would at least look into bringing some kind of investment to Liberia, or give him some kind of investment ideas. And Kev said he has not seen that. He sees him on Woodland Avenue and in other places. And then, of course, the fundraising, according to Kev, was not successful. And Leo now said, telling us that his pathway is for JMB to present himself as a mature, experienced, sophisticated politician or former vice president. And he gave examples of how the vice president should present himself in a mature way. And one of the key things he emphasized was transparency, open with press releases. You cannot, be coming to the United States or leaving Liberia without any press release. And he says when you do that, and I'm putting words in your mouth right now, Leah, when you do that, you leave people to sort of create gossip, rumors about, what you're doing, conspiracy. And there's no way to combat those gossip. Once it's out there, it's out there. Like, you can bring a gossip and say, well, the vice president, we saw him in the basement, drinking alcohol where there was a display of an alcohol bottle. Okay, as opposed to having a press release and say this is, and somebody could combat that and say no, that's not true. The vice president was here. He met XYZ. He had this meeting, but we are not seeing some kind of coherent and consistent press release that's going out there. The press release that they're giving us, including Leo talked about when he even was at the hospital, it's like this big secrecy, this cloud of secrecy. That even when he gave a press release, it had nothing to do with him being in hospital. Like sickness is for anybody. Sickness does not discriminate. It's equal opportunity. So all he had to say, was JB was in the hospital. He's feeling well right now. And so that's what Leo is saying. And number two, he said he has to consolidate Nima Kante, I mean, not Nima, I'm sorry, Lofa Kante. I keep on going to Nima Kante. Lofa Kante has to be consolidated in order for him to win, because we see a lot of activities from Koji, Fala, all of them in the county, and he has to consolidate Lofa Kante for us to, that'll be another pathway to his victory. Another pathway to his victory, and lastly, Leo said, was his vice presidential pick. Whoever he picks will kind of put the nail on the coffin for us to definitely see clearly his pathway. We're going to come back to this topic. We were just kind of teasing it out a little bit for you audience, and you, hopefully you're engaging in the conversation with your comments. I think I wanted to make a brief announcement. I just heard back that there's something going on with our radio station in Liberia. It's getting fixed. We're having some technical difficulty, but the Facebook is up and running. So we're going to get to that. I'm sure our technicians are currently working on that. So again, let's move on now. We're going to talk about the pathway for Mr. Alexander B. Cummings. He also is a presidential candidate, as is Vice President Buckeye, as is George Weah. And unfortunately, we'll have more time to even include Tiawan Congo during our next conversation. So, Kev, what is the pathway for Mr. Alexander B. Cummings?
Mr. Cummings was supposed to be the one that a lot of ANC folks thought that he was the agent of change, but by joining the CPP and by collaborating with folks that destroy the country, put Mr. Cummings in a place of no pathway also, and added to his lack of I don't want to use, when you say popularity, people will say, oh, maybe popularity will not win. But because people don't know who Mr. Cummings is, people cannot put finger on what Mr. Cummings has done in order for him to be president. So Mr. Cummings stand. I can say for now, even the fourth place is very shaky for Mr. Cummings, because there is nothing that Mr. Cummings that I can point on that Mr. Cummings will have a pathway to the presidency. He doesn't. There is nothing can show. Mr. Cummings could have been better of being Mr. Cummings, not collaborating with people who wreck this country. But by compromising his beliefs, shows that Mr. Cummings desperate, and there's no pathway for Mr. Cummings. And folks of the ANC were preaching the change, that we are the agent of change. We can do this. But how can you change that you in bed with people who destroy the country? So it shows how Mr. Cummings is desperate. It shows how Mr. Cummings cannot have, and there's no pathway for him. If I was in the room of Mr. Cummings and make a decision, I would tell Mr. Cummings, drop out of the race. You will not win. There's no pathway.
You get them to form a coalition with JMB. Like that
Say that again.
right that thing drop all of the race. Why you get encouraging to form a coalition with JMB so they can be strong?
You cannot form a collaboration with JMB because they don't have the same ideology. They don't see things the same. Leo, you cannot form a collaboration because you want to see. Let me tell you the mistakes that we did. People want to do out. They decide that we don't care the means. By any means, we will take do out, so we'll destroy the country because people want to do out. We're not going to make the same mistake right now. That with that idea in our country that I don't like Leo, so I can join a thief in the night to go and break down Leo home. No, I can't do that. We can't do that. So what happened with Cummings? Cummings decided to join with the thief in the night because he feel that if they succeed, he will get his cut. No, we can't do that. We can't do that anymore. So
Mr. Cummings will get his cut.
Yeah, he think that. He think that if I join the thief in the night, maybe we will get the government that is cut. So you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Before you join, if I want to join a Leo, for example, Leo is doing stuff in Liberia. I believe what Leo is doing in Liberia. What Leo is doing in Liberia, if I want to join Leo, I have to share the idea of what Leo is doing in Liberia so I can join Leo. I cannot join Leo if I don't share Leo's idea. And before you join the Republican here or the Democrat, you have to have the same ideology. One, either you're pro-life or you're pro-choice. You understand? But if you are Democrat and you're pro-life, guess what? You are in a pro-life state. You cannot be a pro-choice and win election in a pro-life state in America. So we have to have the same ideology in order to collaborate. And we're making that mistake. Oh, they come together, Mr. Cummings, and they don't. So the reason that Mr. Cummings doesn't have the reason Mr. Cummings doesn't have a pathway because he compromised his idea. He compromised. Our Mr. Cummings will talk about, I want justice for the Liberian people because of the war, but at night, in a Nicodemus style, is going to Prince Johnson.
Okay, thank you, Cass. I'm gonna Cass.
Come on.
You heard what Cass said.
Mr. Cummings lose his credibility. He doesn't have no credibility of winning election.
Cass is saying Mr. Cummings doesn't have any pathway. Mr. Cummings does not have any credibility.
He needs to drop out.
Also saying he is not an agent of change, and he wants Mr. Cummings to drop out of the race. So, what are your thoughts? What are Mr. Cummings' pathway?
So I guess for Kev on the George Manawia, Dr. George Manawia.
Nobody else has a pathway. George Manawia got pathway. Cummings got pathway. George Manawia got
pathway to this thing. Anyway, here's what I will say. I think for me, if you ask me, when I look at Alexander Cummings and what his pathway might look like to potentially becoming president of Liberia will be the ability of the ANC under Mr. Cummings to break down the engagements from the high level down to the grassroots. So if you look at Mr. Cummings' engagement, there's been a lot of high-profile people here. Mr. Cummings traveling around the country, except that if you go into Zogowe, and the person you're taking from Zogowe is somebody from Monrovia who from Zogowe, born in Zogowe, but you take them from Monrovia and go with them to Zogowe. It's not the same. It's not contextual as somebody who's seeing at the grassroots level. And my observation, that has been, for me, the pathway would be, because think about it this way, in Liberian politics, nobody can equate their ability to get the same type of popularity that President George Weah has. You just can't compete with it. That's just a fact. President Weah is probably, if not the most popular Liberian on planet Earth, in my opinion. He is one of right up there. So you can't come. The only way you can break that, you have to be very smart. Because if I am from Vonjama and I live in Vonjama and work in Vonjama, I have so much credibility in Vonjama and have so much clout in Vonjama. If Mr. Cummins is coming to town and I'm telling the people, me, your son, asking you to help me so we can, people are not coming to vote for Mr. Cummins whether they know him or not. Because I am lending my trust that these people will do what I tell them to Mr. Cummins, whether they feel comfortable with him or not. But instead, we're seeing a lot of high-level engagement in the ANC, right? Whether it's with the Louis Browns of the world, whether it's with Gateway McIntosh of the world. Now, great, these people are great. But honestly, if I'm going to go into the deep bushes and villages of Grand Bassa County to talk to people, it is not Gateway McIntosh I will be taking with me. To be honest with you, there is a disconnect. So for me, Cummins' real pathway to the presidency is going to be the champions of counties and towns and villages being the ones to say, we are Mr. Cummins. We represent Mr. Cummins. We want you to vote us to power. In fact, not almost saying Mr. Cummins, and Mr. Cummins can only come in as the figurehead to really then just boost these people up and say, listen to your son or listen to your daughter. Outside of that, there's high-level engagement. We see Mr. Cummins leaves Monrovia. There's a whole convoy. They go to this town, he's engaging. That engagement that happens with Mr. Cummins is the introduction to the man. When he leaves, you need intense, robust, every day the people who can go to the house and say, that already I know you say, you don't want Mr. Cummins, you don't let me, but open your door, I come inside. And that already will open her door because she knows me, respects me, and she will still open her door, even though she knows I come to talk to her, but she not want it. I think that is what is lacking within the ANC. This very top level, high level approach is creating a problem because the underneath that needs for the people at the top level to operate and do what they do well, whether it's the politicking or policy making and that stuff, it is not there right now. So you need a whole delegation from Monrovia to go Nimba when you only need Mr. Cummins and 2 people from Monrovia because the whole delegation actually lives in the very towns. And the last thing for me would be is vice presidential pick. I will be honest with you, it will be defining, especially with all the talk of collaboration between he and JMB or not. If Mr. Cummins does not pick a stellar candidate, and when I mean a stellar candidate, on all counts, a candidate that the Liberian people feel that is above some type of, is above reproach in our context. And when I mean above reproach, I'm not talking about being perfect, but someone who clearly has a track record for what they can stand on and not just saying, oh, me too are popular because I'm from certain county. It would be very difficult. So I think for me, the 2 things you would need would be the first thing I talk about, decentralization of that campaign structure and engagement structure with Liberians. Because Mr. Cummins, let's be honest, it's not able to engage with the Yana boy in Relay Market. And it's not a criticism. And he operated at a very high level, his success and everything. If you didn't sell Burger in Relay Market, let's be honest, it's hard. And not everybody's supposed to sell Burger in Relay Market. That is the reason why we need to build campaign teams in ways that can allow that engagement so that the boss said in Burger we can know that if Mr. Cummins don't understand you, there are people on Mr. Cummins teams who saw Burger we with you that are able to make Mr. Cummins understand you.
Good. Oh, great conversation. I believe, again, Kev said he does not see the pathway for just Vice President Buckeye, nor does he see the pathway for Mr. Cummins. And then Leo just said that decentralizing the mobilization team, where you can be more contextual, going into Nima County, and the people who are there should be your welcoming team as opposed to taking a team from Montserrat County or from Monrovia to come into Nima County to promote your message. I think that point is well taken. He said that, and of course, what happens after Mr. Cummins leaves Nimba or Lofa or Magibi, what happens to the team on the ground? Continue to cultivate that robust and messaging to the people, like the group of people that will not say no, continue to knock on doors. Now when Mr. Cummins leaves, then everybody follow him to go back to Monrovia, and the campaign has to continue. And lastly, he said his vice president pick has to be a stellar person, somebody who many Liberians can connect with. So you guys, both you and Kev, made some really great points here in the conversation about the pathway for the pathway for Buckeye, and the pathway for Mr. Cummins. I want to just thank you for adding to the conversation. To both of you, you guys made some really good points. It is 6:15, guys. We're gonna move on to actually, I want to kind of present. Leah, you want to talk to us? James, good day if you listening. Before I even go to Kev, do you have anything else to add? Any final comments? We are going to go to our closing point, but I just want to show what Leah is doing in Liberia. Then you speak to the Liberian people about it.
Yeah, I think we should let Leo speak to it
Okay.
because
All right.
because
Good.
of the time.
James, can you please put those pictures up? I send you some pictures. Great. Thank you, James.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Francine and Kev as well. Thank you very much for the recognition.
This is Liberia. I always like seeing Liberia. I'm sorry that I didn't mean to talk away.
So this is a comprehensive learning center that is costing us $2 million. It's going to be the beginning of the establishment of the first library system in Liberia. As I speak to you, 2 months ago, the public library system here in Canada just made a 10-year commitment to use this building to create a national library system for the country. And also will be adopting as a sister library. So whatever you can access in a library in Canada, you'll be able to access it in this building. So it's costing us $2 million. It's 3 buildings in total. This is the first building. It's going to house a public library, a curated children's library dedicated only for kids. It's also going to have a small business incubation center, and it's going to have a living archive.
Wow. Where is this located, Leo?
Right on the compound of the Pinsville City Hall. That's what you're looking at right there.
Okay. So we're on the grounds there.
Yeah. And the second building is going to be an indoor recreation facility, which you know is very scarce in the country, and safe spaces for children to play is a big deal in the country right now. And the third building is going to be the Pinsville City Hall itself. As you know, that building was built around 1960. And since then, nobody has done an analysis of, it was standing, during the war, it was standing unoccupied for a long time. It's hard, the building is an old building, and we don't want to wait until it breaks down on somebody. So the engineers will be coming in to do their analysis of the building. If it can be renovated, we will, but they say if the cost of the renovation exceeds 50% of the value of the building, just break it down and build a brand new one, because there's no point renovating it. So in the next 4 months or so, we're hoping the building will be fully enclosed and covered with the roof and everything. I'm heading to Liberia shortly to do the site inspection for how far we are. But this was an opportunity to really show the quality of work we should be doing. And my organization is in Canada. We do work in Ghana, South Africa, and now Liberia. And this is one of the projects currently we're doing in Liberia. So it's a 10-year commitment. We'll be working with the Canadian library system to develop the first national library system in Liberia.
Wow. What is the name of your organization, Leo? Just so people are
Go ahead.
So this is something that came out of your own passion. You then galvanized other people to work with you.
Yeah, so when I came to Canada in 2006, I started this organization during my second year in university. And the goal was really here. There were a lot of immigrants' children. It started with the Liberian community who were coming to school here, but just dropping out of school because of the changing system when they got here. So we started an academic mentoring program and to help kids get to college and university. So we're supporting around 250 of them. That's how it started. And then I made a commitment in the refugee camp when I was on Budu Buram to 2 friends of mine. We read a book that I was going to come back to try and do a library project. So I went to Liberia. We spent 6 years of research. We visited 13 of the 15 counties in Liberia. We spent about 2 weeks in each. We spoke to chiefs, to youth groups, straight up to President's Relief Office. The university supported the research because we brought all the data back and took it apart and then landed on the fact that we needed a comprehensive learning center to support the education system, and not just a library, because at the time in my head, it was a library. So the organization, of course, is called Empowerment Squared. It's a registered charity in Canada. We also have permission and from the IRS in the United States to issue tax receipts. So if you donate from the US or Canada, you will get tax deductible receipts, which means you can get up to 65% of your donation back during tax time. We've been operating since 2006. We have about 22 staff right now in our organization in Canada. We have 2 locations operating in Canada beyond our international projects.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Leo. It's great to see a Liberian citizen, as Kev said, who is doing something and giving back. I hope you're going to get your voters registration card when you're in Liberia, because nowadays, after a certain time, I want to be talking to people who got voters registration
I'm taking people to go register.
Hey, okay, good. We'll talk more about that. Thank you so much. I wanted you to actually talk about this business incubator, because I think that sounds like a very strange word, but a very, very important piece for Liberians. Business incubator.
So we already started. In fact, what a business incubator is, there are a lot of young people in Liberia with brilliant entrepreneurial ideas, but missing certain type of skill sets. Someone have already started doing little things here and there, but they do not have the environment and the ecosystem that you can allow that stuff to grow and nurture it and prevent it from some of the risks that are out there, but also get access to the mentorship that they need to understand how everybody in Liberia is selling, but nobody knows how business works. So
Yes.
last year, yes, go ahead, Dr. Francine.
No, I was gonna say, please break it down because you've been like, I don't want you to be accused of the thing that.
Okay, let me break this thing down.
You say when you got business and
So
you said something and you know how to set it.
Yeah.
That place that you go, they will teach you small ideas.
Yeah.
You can go ahead, please break it
But
down.
also to get you small thing and small money then that you need to be able to do the business. But let me even take it one step further or one step in front. Everybody doing business like brother from hand to mouth. The place you can go where they show you how to turn the business around that and not just hand to mouth. You can start paying other people instead of wheelbarrow, you turn it to shop. Instead of shop, you turn it to two shop. And you can see the Ojalo there. When the Jalo come, they start selling fire code, they sell roasted feed, they sell roasted meat. Before you know it, they get a whole shop. That they call business incubator, that the place you can go so people can help you to build it. So last year, we got 100,000 United States dollars spent in Liberia. We supported about 40 young people we went from Nikutown to Red Light and then Carisburg. They did 7 months of financial literacy training, the same thing I just described. And then after that, they did not know, each of them got $400 US investment plus a smartphone to be able to invest in their businesses. So my trip to Liberia will be visiting, because most of them have actually turned to follow up and see where they are since they completed the training itself.
This is great. So again, a Liberian doing something in Liberia, in order for us to change our country, we got to be the change that we want to see in Liberia. So thank you so much, Leo Yerin. I know I heard about this before, but I'm very impressed and I want to thank you. So we're going to just go over to our closing comments right now. Kev, we'll start with you and I'll be the last person to close.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson, for moderating the show. You see, Leo and I on a different aisle. You can see his argument. He, but I do respect people who just don't talk, but match some action. What we saw about what Leo is doing, we will have a good debate. We will talk because he can show that he actually doing something. He's not just talking; he's doing something. He's not abandoning Liberia. He's not saying Liberia is a no-go zone. He's doing something. You can see the project. It's a huge project. Huge project. So, Leo, I will tell you, my brother, I do have a lot of respect for you. And I can tell you, I don't know your who in your family. I think I had challenged your sister one time. I had to run away. She's a nurse. I had to run away. I had to run away. She as solid as you. She's very solid. That tells me that you guys come from a very solid background. And I know you'll probably get it from your parents. And you keep on the good work, my brother. Keep on the good work. That's my closing.
Thank you, Kev. Thank you. I can go now, Dr. Francine? You want to go? Yeah, no, thank you. So just to close, thank you, everybody. And like I said, Liberia is for all of us. And I always say the development that's needed in Liberia and the work we have to do cannot be the span of anyone's presidency. I've always made that argument. This whole idea that people think that when one president comes, when you elect the president, then you work. When the other president comes, you don't elect the other president, then you don't work. I've always said, regardless of who's president, once the elections are over, for me, politicking is done. We will work. And you're looking at every government, Dr. Francine, let's be honest, regardless of how corrupt governments are, or what you want to say, there are always champions in every government that are trying their best to do what needs to be done, regardless of how bad a government is. So instead of just saying, I wash my hands, I always say, trust me, I will find who the champions are for myself. and work with them. This project has gone through two governments, Madam Salif and now President Weah. It's gone through three mayors in Painesville City. And the reason I'm saying it is to show that when we organize things properly and commit to it, we don't have to worry about who's changing government. In fact, Vice President Joe Howard Taylor was the one who broke the grounds because I invited President Weah. And I always tell people that when I go to Liberia, those who are our leaders now, we will work with them, we will engage with them to get the job done, because you know what? These things go way beyond their presidencies and whoever else is there. So I want to encourage all Liberians. Thank you for having me. That as the politicking season is coming out, politic all you want, right? Defend your candidate. Let's recruit. But once the elections are over and the results are finalized, let's not take that bitterness over. And just so you know, you don't need to come and accuse people and insult them or whatever that is. If you disagree with people, make the point that you disagree with them and make it saliently. Don't insult them. The whole thing you can do your count spoon when they say some people JMB, 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 ABC, 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 ABC. That's spamming people. In fact, I would say you're making a person lose more vote by spamming people the way you are doing it, rather than engaging them and say, you know what, I heard your disagreements, but I have other arguments. Let's talk about it. So I think this is a healthy conversation, and I can see people saying, oh, you on Kumin side, oh, you on JMB side. When you criticize JMB, you on Kumin side. That's fine. Whichever side you want to put me on, that's okay, because anybody that win the election, that person will be my president, regardless of whether I like them or not, because I owe my respect to the office of the presidency of the Republic of Liberia, regardless of who is there.
Guys, great show. Just want to wrap it up a little bit. Again, we are the CPP. I want to make an announcement. Has a voters education and civic education going on. If you are interested in going back to Liberia to participate in community engagement and also to register to vote, please contact me. We have set up ways that we are planning on going back to Liberia to participate in the development of our country. The conversation was great here. Kev said he doesn't see any pathway for Mr. Cummings and Mr. Booker. He sees pathway for George Weah. We want to see, somebody can ask the question, we want to see his performance, how he did it, what tangible things that he has shown over the past almost 6 years that he's been in government. This is what the questions that we're asking for Mr. Cummings. It was mentioned here that he needs to connect more with the people on the ground, connect more, do more mobilization, contextualize his campaign message. And also with Joe Bucker, I think I agree with you, Leo. I really want to see him presenting himself as a statement. Yes, he's already known as a likable grandfather type figure or uncle to many of us. We see that, we know that, we can feel that. But to lead our country, the job that he wants requires that he sort of present himself in a transparent way. We want to see him meeting with business people, where when at the end of the day, you can say, yeah, they may bring investment to our country, or present ideas to us, where at the end of the day, I know he has this whole arrest idea, but it's just kind of philosophical to me. I have not seen any tangible, especially in terms of connecting it to what he has already done or he knows about government. Okay, when you talk about agriculture, minister, you can connect it. Instead of just saying we brought equipment, we brought farm products to the road. That's what he said, farm product to the road. I want more. We are in a modern world, more mechanized, revolutionized, digital type conversation about farming. That's one example. Okay, guys, we had a great show. I made good timing at 6:29. If you are interested in going to Liberia to register to vote or engage in civil education, please text me, inbox me. We do have a plan to go. The CPP, under the leadership of Hassan Biladi, has a plan. Good day. Your show, take it over, Leo. Thank you very much. Kev Hassan, thank you very much.
All right, that is it. And this is how we love to leave you. We hope to be back tomorrow. Bye-bye. James Kude Flomo.